Hey everyone, it's Jacob on behalf of everyone here at That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures over analyzing manga we find interesting, otherwise known as the OverMangaCast. This week we revisited Demon Slayer, Kimetsu No Yaiba. We read chapters 70 through 99, the Entertainment District arc, and it was most certainly entertaining, in the conventional sense. Context is important, folks. Enjoy the show!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the OverMangaCast. My name is Sam, and as always at the top of the show, we're talking about our familiarity with the series. This is another look back at Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, and I actually have a bit of extra exposure since last time. Rewatched some of the anime for the vibe, for the fun of it, and noticing a few things, and also catching some clips of the stuff that we read for this time from the currently airing anime. The OP is a banger again, but that is really about it. Other than that, you could just go back through all of our previous Demon Slayer episodes, which you should totally do, and know the extent of my knowledge. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I have not really done anything with Demon Slayer since we read the Mugen Train arc, so this was entirely fresh read for me.
Mm-hmm. And Jay?
So, I have also veered back toward watching the anime just for nostalgia's sake, and I have to agree, the OP is a banger. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I did kind of read a little bit into our reading today with the anime, and it is very good.
Eimer hits it out of the park once again. They call her Eimer because she does not miss. And Jacob?
I haven't experienced that much more Demon Slayer either. The fun bit was, it took me a little bit longer to get going with the reading that we did. So by the time that I actually started in earnest, the OP had already been shown to me by a friend. So I literally had that playing on loop while I was reading, and it is really good background reading music. For that, the piano and the sort of chill tone of it, it has energy to it, but it has a bit of a chill tone, made it perfect reading music.
Yeah, the piano right into the anime noises. And but that is the anime. Getting into the manga, we pick up after a brief time skip where our boys left off, having gone through the whole Mugen Train thing. It's been about 4 months of them recovering, training, and doing solo missions.
Sam, I think you and me have different definitions of what a brief time skip is. It's been 4 months.
Well, you remember that the training with Orokodaki chapter to chapter was a year, so...
There are also a lot of series that will time skip several years. As a Dragon Ball fan stroke child of the 90s, 4 months is medium.
Oh man, if they had time skipped 10 years to when Tanjiro's youngest son was now going with him to the entertainment district, this would be a much different chapter.
This would be a totally different reading.
Tanjiro is returning from a solo mission. Apparently the Demon Slayer Corps have stopped yeeting him at only Kizuki, so he's fairly easily handling these lesser demons off screen.
Yeah, there is a really interesting shift here. I will say one thing that I couldn't help but notice in the first couple of chapters, I felt that they did the exaggerated comedy faces a little bit too much, to the point where there was 2 straight chapters where
Tanjiro was never on model.
Yeah, drawing off model for a comedy beat is totally fine. Something Demon Slayer is quite frankly normally good at. It felt like there were a couple of chapters where it was phoned in, and it didn't give the best first impression of the reading section. But I also couldn't help but notice the fact that we saw Tanjiro's first 2 missions, and the very first mission that we saw him on, he was fighting a completely regular demon, and it was a whole thing. Mm-hmm. There really is a very nice sense of progression that they are in a different stage being members of the Demon Slayer Corps, because even Zenitsu is going off and doing solo missions, and he's not even about it. He's just doing his job, which is great character development for him. I was really proud of him for that.
Well, you see, Jacob, over the time skip, they ranked up 2 ranks in the secret Demon Corps ranking. Why you may not know this is you need to chant a secret passphrase so that the logo on the back of their hand that has always been there will
And then
activate.
flex.
Will then activate because wisteria magic. Do we want to explain how that works? Nope. Do we want to go into that at all? Nope. Are we going to acknowledge that Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu are only 2 ranks from the bottom of this 7-rank system?
That I couldn't help but notice doesn't have the Hashira on it.
It's their exalted caste, Mark. We don't need to explain anymore.
Yeah, they're 4 up from the bottom.
Yeah, like I don't get why we do so many tiers though, because we only ever interact with bottom rung like black coat mooks essentially, main character boys, and Hashira. Those are the 3 levels of power we interact with, but apparently we need a ranking system that goes up to like 9.
It's also a ranking system that doesn't see a lot of play in the actual manga. Like, there's the panels where Inosuke's like, wait, you didn't know about that? And then it's forgotten about.
And it had never been established before that point. It's very much like the colored Nichiren swords. The fact that the swords have special colors to them doesn't actually matter. It's a fun bit of world building if that's your jam. Like, it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, that's neat. I'll file that away mentally if I ever want to like play with the idea of a Demon Slayer fanfiction or something. But it doesn't actually matter for the plot.
Yeah, I'm going to read charitably and say that Gotouge-sensei has explanations, but they don't matter for Tanjiro's story.
I didn't actually go back and look, but there was something about, hey, you know when they tickled your hand at the selection? I don't remember that happening, but I don't remember the selection that well, so I'll take your word for it. I don't think that happened, but cool.
Anyway. I guess Butterfly Mansion has just become their HQ at this point, because that's where Tanjiro is returning to. Actually, yeah, that is another good, like, world-building fridge logic moment. Tanjiro is homeless. He had just been wandering and, you know, staying with various masters he's training with.
That's most Demon Slayers, in all fairness. I think Rengoku was an exception, that his family was prestigious. I don't imagine you joined the Demon Slayer Corps because you got a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. So Tanjiro is returning to HQ at Butterfly Mansion, and there's some chaos going on because the Sound Hashira Tengen Uzui has appeared and is making off with some of the girls. He's picked them up and he's heading out.
He's just got them slung over his shoulder and is walking away with them.
In retrospect, looking back at the scene, it makes me question, because we were just discussing the ranking system that they have, correct? In this scene, it is revealed that he just goes in and grabs, 2 people he assumes are affiliated with the
core.
With the core. So not knowing, if they're officially affiliated, if they're Demon Slayers, what their rank would be, he just goes in and grabs some girls. Which, already on its own, we can already talk about how creepy and weird this is.
Right. The thing I couldn't help but notice, that is a scene that makes you instantaneously loathe this guy, but it's amazing that that's really the only like bad thing he ends up doing that isn't like a comedy beat. And they like the audience opinion for at least me turned around on him pretty quickly, because he starts off seeming like he is going to be like a secondary antagonist more than a help.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but what I'm trying to say is, so we know this ranking system exists, and we know this ranking.
The audience didn't know the ranking system existed yet, because it's not until halfway through it even gets mentioned.
We know this alleged rating system potentially exists. The only source we have is Inosuke, who I think also might just casually lie about things.
But as Jay was saying,
what I was saying was the fact is, at any point, the secret code word could have been uttered, and we could have seen whether or not they were in fact Demon Corps, or what their ranking would be, whether they'd be qualified for this mission at all.
To be fair, the other thing that gets mentioned is they do say they're not even in the Demon Slayer Corps. They're just Butterfly Mansion employees. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. I just need bodies.
But, the girls obviously are not consenting to this. And Tanjiro's like, hey, cut that out. Goes for the Kameto family secret technique, but he's too fast. He dodges the headbutt.
I think he's the only person who avoids a headbutt so far.
Yeah, it says, I'm Tengen Uzui, a former ninja. I'm well known in that world. I don't think that makes you a very good ninja, but
I'm well known as for being a secretive ninja.
Mhm.
You should know
But-
me.
He is very much a movie ninja movie. All of the
Yeah.
ninjas that we get introduced to are movie ninja movies, which is fine because they're fun, but
the gang at Butterfly Mansion, including Tanjiro, are not impressed by this. They're just like, let her go, let him go, you kidnapper.
Herbert, these are children.
I'm a Hashira, I'm your superior. I don't recognize you as a Hashira. Don't you me? What? I don't care if you don't have enough brain power to recognize me. I'm a Hashira.
Yeah, Hashir who takes young children, young female children.
who just kidnaps girls because I need warm bodies. Yeah, that's the other thing where it's like, if this rank thing, shouldn't the Hashira have a rank that they should be able to flash?
Are the Hashira? So the Hashira weren't listed on that ranking system. So I think it is. The Hashira is a title, and you rank up separate from that. And I'm just like, that just makes it more complicated to not talk about.
It's like the
Anyway.
Nichiren swords. We're just gonna forget it's a thing. If you care, there it is.
Also, I do want to clarify. He only kidnaps. You kept saying little girls, but one of the people he is attempting to kidnap is
One of them is Tanjiro's age.
Yeah, it's Kanoe, the mute girl. When she stands up, he also is like, "Well, I'll take you too." And I got so confused because he only took one of the little dot-eyed girls of the three, and I had to look up on the wiki that it was Aoi.
AOI.
Aoi. Jay, Japanese help.
What?
How do you pronounce Aoi's name?
Aoi?
Aoi. Okay.
Aoi? Usually blue.
Okay.
Tanjiro's cheer squad at the Butterfly Mansion.
It's fair to not know which one is which because they are functionally one character.
They are always drawn together, except when only she is kidnapped.
Yeah.
Zenitsu and Inosuke conveniently show up as well and menace the Hashira. And he's like, fine, at least you guys have swords. I'll take you.
Considering how things actually play out, this is another one where when you stop to go back and think about this moment, it makes Uzui a lot less sympathetic and likable because he goes through character rehabilitation really fast. I really liked him by the end, but this is some pretty nasty stuff he did in the beginning because those people he was kidnapping were definitely going to die.
This might be another case of, we heard there's a demon. It's probably pretty strong. We're sending in a Hashira just to be sure. Oh no, it's actually a Kizuki. That's what the Mugen Train was.
It's absolutely a fridge logic sort of thing. It's just, there have been a lot of cases where Demon Slayer has maybe veered a little bit too close to something it didn't intend and then did a good job of walking back on it to make it okay, but it still makes you kind of tilt your head retroactively when you think about the earlier stuff. Like,
Yeah, but,
it's Demon Slayer being Demon Slayer, which honestly is a net positive, so I'll take it.
But yeah, we have a fun moment where Tengen's like, I'm the coolest, flashiest guy here. I'm basically a god. And Tanjiro raises his hand and asks, so what are you a god of? Good question. I'm god of festivals. Okay.
Hello, god of festivals. I am Inosuke, god of the mountain. At which point he refers to himself as that for the entire rest of our reading, and I love it.
Zenitsu just desperately wants to not be in this group.
he's like, oh no, a bigger dumbass showed up. Why am I here?
How does he? How do I keep getting stuck with these crazy people?
Zenitsu seriously considers not going on this mission, and then Tengen's just like, we're going to a den of avarice and lust, the entertainment district. And Zenitsu's like, oh, hey, you know what that is? You know what that is? We're not going to say it because we're a shonen manga, but you know what that is?
he keeps asking Inosuke and Tanjiro, who both obviously have no idea. Like, he's asking rhetorically and surprised when they genuinely don't know.
This arc does an amazing job of skirting the line of telling you exactly how a brothel is run and how prostitutes do their business, while never actually calling them prostitutes or alluding to what their business actually is. Respect.
They provide entertainment to patrons.
It does stop just short of going, this is the sex trade. It's 7 layers of screwed, but
If only. Some people have to pay extra for that.
I bet they would.
Why?
There it is. Okay.
So they stop at a wisteria house where they are filled in on the mission, and Tengen's like, "So yeah, my 3 wives." Zenitsu, you have 3 wives?
Yeah.
A weirdo like you?
That's not fair. I can't accept that. It's like how he feels about Inosuke's face.
Yes, it's not fair.
So anyway, I sent my 3 wives in because we heard reports that sounded like demon activity in the area, and they've infiltrated the brothels and have been sending me reports for a while now. Unfortunately, those reports just stopped, so we're going in to try to find them and maybe find the demon that's probably there. You sent your wives to infiltrate whorehouses? What? They're ninja, okay? Like me.
They do actually make a point of they're kunoichi. They're not technically in the Demon Slayer Corps. They are trained in these sorts of things. So
Also, he does make a point to mention he tried going in himself, but people wouldn't interact with him because he's incredibly beautiful. It's revealed, and also because he's a man, he's kept at like an arm's reach from like the business side of things, and like
which is the place where a demon would hide.
Yeah, and the demon has no interest in. I think the demon we get established has no interest in eating men.
It's easier to make other women in the brothels disappear because since this is the sex trade and some of them have, been sold into slavery because that's how it worked back then, if someone disappears, it's just assumed that they ran away from the debt that had been keeping them there and managed to escape, as opposed to, being eaten by a demon and stuff. That said, however, there is a bit of a problem because now we know why he was grabbing the girls from the Butterfly Mansion, but now unfortunately his helpers for this mission are 3 boys. What could we possibly do to infiltrate the brothels like this? This seems like such a difficult situation that will require an incredibly clever solution to solve.
We're gonna make them all cross-dress.
Yeah, we're just gonna put makeup on them. Also, Inosuke is really hot.
There is a moment where they all have this same like really dumb, really unconvincing makeup.
The fact that Inosuke is just naturally hot, you made him uglier somehow by putting makeup on him.
Yeah, when Inosuke gets placed in his house, they go, "Yeah, we had to wash that awful makeup, but she's got such a beautiful face. A little muscular, but some people are into that.
She's a little broad-shouldered, but."
People like curves. Less curvy, more beefy.
That is a direct quote, and it was hilarious.
Also, Tanjiro gets placed by just being a good boy.
Good boy.
Tanjiro gets placed in the nicest.
Like, all the people there are really, like, welcoming and nice to him. Like, he's going for information, so he has to, like, explain why he's asking for one of the workers there, and he's like, "She's my older sister and I'm worried." And he has like it's like Tanjiro is not capable of lying. It causes him physical pain, and he has this ridiculous look on his face.
I'm like, yes, there's the Tanjiro good boy magic I expect from Demon Slayer. It physically pains him to look, at this point in Demon Slayer, I was just happy that Tanjiro being a beacon of purity was for at one point a negative to him.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when I wanted to bring this up, but I really, really wanted to point this out because we had there were a lot of pros and cons to the Mugen Train arc. There were a lot of points where we said, this doesn't ruin the enjoyment, but here's some critiques for this arc of the manga. Wow. Like, Demon Slayer was on my top manga that we read of last year, and so it's a high bar set already, but wow, so much better pacing. They did so much better of letting Tanjiro have his protagonist privileges so he can have his moments and be cool and everything without it like taking you out of the story. Like, there wasn't he somehow knows not to just cut the thread that connects the bribed civilians moment. Like there wasn't anything like that. It really does feel like the things that were wrong with the Mugen Train arc, like the pacing was so much better. This was such a page turner.
Yeah, pacing was really good in this. For instance, during the infiltration segment of our reading, we have perhaps my favorite moment where we learn that Zenitsu is a friggin' menace on the Shamisen.
Zenitsu gets placed off page because he gets to the end of one chapter and it's like, he's really ugly. We're not going to be able to place this girl. And we get a flashback midway through the arc that Tengen just went to up a house going like, hey, you can have this girl for free. Make her clean toilets or something. And then just left. And
just get her off my hands.
And we cut to my favorite mini arc where Zenitsu's like, I am going to be the #1 prostitute by playing the Shimase. And I'm like, buddy, what?
Out of pure spite for being chucked away for free. Zenitsu didn't do badly last time. He just didn't have a lot to do. Oh boy, was Zenitsu great in this section.
So the infiltration is going well,
in a manner of speaking.
It's not going well as far as an infiltration. I think Zenitsu somehow is the best at maintaining his cover because Inosuke is just getting by on the fact he is very pretty.
He was specifically told not to speak because he can't speak in a falsetto. They'd know immediately if he ever opened his mouth.
And Tanjiro doesn't get too far until we get revealed from a side character that everyone involved knew he was a boy and was just kind of wondering what was going on.
Right? I love that because that gets revealed like once the because there's the setup phase where they're doing the infiltration, they're gathering information, they consolidate their information, then they go do the thing, and it's that last step where head of the house that Tanjiro was put in was like, yeah, we kind of knew the instant you walked through the door. We were just curious as to why you were doing this, but you were so nice and helpful. We didn't want to say anything. The important bits that we do get is specifically Inosuke is actually damaged floorboards and the wall panels. Our room looks like it's been tossed, and he can actually hear the demon going the ceiling to try to get away.
Yeah, the demon shenanigans specifically being the demon has captured one of the wives, Makio, and is plugging her for information.
Phrasing, considering what this arc is called.
Shut up. Inosuke tries to chase after, but in the interest of his cover, air quotes, can't really do anything to destroy the building, which is what he wants to do.
He doesn't do that at first. He does try to punch a hole in the wall to get to the demon, but unfortunately someone gets in the way.
Punches a drunk instead. This causes the demon to get away from Inosuke, who's very furious about this. Zenitsu is doing his best with his super hearing.
He eventually calms down and is like, okay, that whole being the #1 prostitute thing, I'm gonna have to calm that down. That's not why I'm here. And he starts doing his job.
We're walking it back. I'm looking for Uzui's wife. Okay. And he uses his super hearing and hears a girl crying. And of course, Zenitsu, being himself, is like, that's the most important sound, and immediately runs to go see what's up. And not to be too grim, but I imagine that's a fairly common sound around here. It's pure protagonist luck that Zenitsu happened to find the one who was actually being tormented by a demon. He's just there trying to calm the girl down when a very scary looking lady shows up, grabs Zenitsu by the shoulder, and he's like, oh, that's the demon. I can tell. That is the demon.
She's like the star of that house. They use a term that I don't know.
I think that's the equivalent of like a madam. Obviously, cultures don't mesh one for one.
Exactly, yeah.
It's similar in the same way. Like she's in charge of. Well, no, she's actually in charge of the person who's in charge of the girls. But like,
yeah,
it's comparable.
That's the person who was causing someone else to cry.
She grabs the girl by the ear, and Zenitsu, drinking his respect women juice, grabs her by the wrist and says, "Let her go," which gets him promptly slapped.
Yeah, he grabs onto her arm and he's like, she is unnaturally strong. Oh crap, this is the demon. And then she slaps him through a wall. And the other fun bit is that she's like, she's alive. That's probably a demon slayer.
Also, that might be a man in disguise now that I'm looking at how ugly they are.
really ugly.
Because she'd started off by doing like the bit had been you're ugly and you piss me off. I've decided to hate you. And then when she hits Zenitsu, it's like, that's definitely a demon slayer and probably a man. Okay, time to go to work as a Kizuki.
But we get a brief flashback 2 days before our heroes arrived, and the actual like mistress of this house, the boss essentially, is like, I figured out through context clues that you are something supernatural and very bad. You're killing too many people. You drove a girl to suicide through your bullying. You have to calm down because you're causing problems for me.
There's even an aspect of, look, you make a lot of money for me. I sort of get the idea that you might be a bit supernatural, but on top of that, I wouldn't fire you because you make me a lot of money. I want to make this better, but please be nicer. We're losing other people.
You know what? No. Grabs her by the face, flies into the air. You know, if you just kept your mouth shut, too bad for you. Drops her. Oh, look, she went out a window. Splat.
Yeah, there's like a really good quote about how like one of the things that can extend your life the most is knowing when you're in a bad situation to just shut up.
Yep.
Either that or be a protagonist, but that's something that she's going to learn over the course of this arc.
That's a little out of her wheelhouse at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that the villains don't learn until the end of the arc they're in.
I'm just saying, everyone can't be a protag.
Mhm.
Exactly. We need antags. And speaking of antags, our demon goes and she's like, a good bit of refreshing murder. Now to go home and Lord Muzan!
And he's back in Demon Michael
Lord
Jackson
Muzan.
form.
Yes.
Well, this is a flashback.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's true too. That's true too.
This is a flashback
Yes.
to 2 days before our heroes showed up. So this is also post-girly Muzan and post-child Muzan.
So he just has different forms he switches into then.
Canonically within the same universe.
It's the first time we've seen him go back to a form he has previously had. So either he has like a set of forms he can switch between, or maybe this is his real one and the others were disguises. That's not been revealed to us yet.
And Muzan's like, killing that lady was pretty cool. Unfortunately, she's right. You are going to attract the Demon Slayer Corps, and Hashira will probably show up. I know you've killed 7 of them, and that's very good. You're a very special girl, but I've got a job for you. You know Tameo, the one that ran away? Another one of those has appeared. I want you to kill her. So, direct hit on our dear Nezuko. We can't let that happen.
That's not okay for me.
Kind of okay for me.
Wait a minute.
Hey, hold up.
I mean, people need to fight Nezuko so Nezuko can get more fights.
Okay, fair.
Okay, yeah.
Fair point for that axiom. I'm still getting the torches and pitchforks, though.
But unfortunately, Kizuki, whose name we learn is Daki, that's her true name, not the one, or her demon name, not the one that she uses in her disguise. All of her pseudonyms when she was going around as an immortal prostitute, all of them ended in Hime, which I think is kind of giving the game away a little bit, but it worked this long.
Well,
No.
considering her line of work.
Yeah, it's kind of like being called like Mercedes or Crystal or something.
Like going to a strip club and being like, man, all these girls are named after alcohol. Weird.
How about that?
Or they're named Princess something. Like, you know,
True.
you wouldn't question it.
Now, Zenitsu has been captured by Daki, and Uzui and the boys realize this as they go to have their check-in. And Uzui's like, okay, this is kind of accelerated faster than I was anticipating. It's kind of a mistake bringing you kids in. Get out of here. I'll finish the mission myself.
A mistake to bring kids to a brothel?
Who'd have thunk, really?
A demon brothel at that. I do like another bit of we see a lot of character development over the course of this for basically all of the principal characters. Because one thing that's kind of cool, even though he's still very much not good at it, Inosuke is actually trying to use his head. He found, one of the demons, and not well, mind you, but he maintained his cover while chasing, and he's like, we should go fight the demon I found. I did the thing right. I didn't just randomly attack everything with my swords. I'm doing better, right? Everybody pay attention to me. And like that's such an Inosuke way of character developing, because yes, you are better. You're still a wild man, Inosuke. Calm down a bit.
Also, because Inosuke really loves Tengen, and is just like, that guy is super cool. I want to be like him.
He is just as eccentric as Inosuke, and they're just vibing off of each other.
They do vibe.
Well, he's a god, and I'm a god, so we're peers. Obviously. You should never count out Lord Inosuke!
That actually goes back to something that we talked about in the Mugen Train arc. I don't entirely agree that Inosuke's motivation is what makes him such a like when he gets beclowned, it's not really about his desire to get stronger for its own sake. Like there's a reason that shows up in Shonen a lot. It's a very Japanese like value. The thing that makes Inosuke a clown is the fact that I sort of frame it as like a want versus need thing. He wants to like fight the most powerful opponents and prove his superiority, whereas what he needs to do is actually accurately self-assess and understand that he needs to learn from his betters. And this is another case where we get Inosuke, like the fact that he recognizes that this Hashira is just better than he is, that like, you know, it's like, I'm a god too, so speak with him on that level. The vibing that Inosuke and Tengen do, he's trying to follow Tengen's lead. Like he never complains about following Tengen's lead. You know, everybody's taking baby steps, but this arc did a really good job of giving basically everybody, you know, noticeable steps forward without it being too much.
Yeah, and another thing it really showcases is how hard Rengoku's death hit all of them. Tanjiro has like visible flashbacks, but then you also get a lot from Inosuke, who's just like, hey, maybe fighting with the Hashira we're teamed up with and like trying to do my own thing and not just supporting him, because that's something he like finally got hammered into his head during the final fight with Rengoku, was like, I'm in an assist position, like I help you out, and he immediately jumps into that with Tengen. He's just like, cool, this guy's in the lead, I play support.
But I think that would really bolster his continued character growth would be if someone kind of played into the fact that he has such a huge personality where he feels like he kind of needs to be paired with somebody who kind of thinks this highly of themselves, who kind of has a big personality similar to himself, because he kind of pairs himself where like this is somebody who is quote unquote a peer. He's more in line to follow with or behind somebody who he feels resonates with him in that respect, as opposed to somebody who's strictly to the book or is more reserved, because then he just sees, oh, you're just quote unquote this superior officer, you're the man, I don't want to, you know, adhere to this criteria you have set out for me, I want to be my own boss, I'm so independent, I'm so wild and free. And if you're paired with somebody who has a bit of both, who is able to indulge you in your extroversion and your excessiveness and your big personality, but still is able to kind of steer you in the direction of which you need to grow and further develop, you know, it can be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, Tengen gets me, so I'm more inclined to follow him. It's a very good pairing for the growth of Inosuke in particular, because Zenitsu and Tanjiro have their own sort of separate character development.
So Tanjiro goes to say his goodbye, at which point the Oiran at the house he was at is like, yeah, we knew you were a boy the whole time. It was really obvious. You were doing... even if you were doing the falsetto, we could tell in your voice.
Okay.
Well then.
Okay, I guess I'll have to try harder next time.
He says, I can't believe she knew.
It's one of those ones where it's a very Tanjiro moment of like, he takes it well, but he's actually kind of disappointed in himself. And like, the madam is like, no, really, it's fine. We like you. We were fine with indulging you.
Oh my god.
Such a Tanjiro moment.
As Tanjiro is leaving, Daki arrives and she's like, oh, you're going to be heading out of town? You found a man to marry you and get you out of this life? I guess I better eat you now then. And it's like,
I don't think she didn't lead the brothel. She was the head prostitute. They were two separate entities, and the head prostitute was gushing over the fact that she finally found a respectable man who'd be willing to, you know, despite what she's done, you know, her profession, would be willing to marry her. She's like, this is my last night. I'm so thankful.
It's a bit of a cultural disconnect. That's actually not that weird to have be a professional entertainer and find a husband from that. There's less of a stigma in the cultures are not one for one.
Especially that time period as well, because that's also a big factor.
Well, it also depends, because depending on, and this obviously is something that is also a different cultural like translation, is just because you worked at the entertainment district, 100% of the time you were not prostituting yourself. You were legitimately performing, entertaining at dinner, playing instruments, what have you.
It's just the rest of it was common.
Yes, it's you have other talents. So say she marries into a family that would be hosting or entertaining, her talents would be useful in that respect as well.
Yeah, and they do actually go over that a little bit because they talk about how, and it's actually kind of the way that they dance around the whole prostitution angle of what an entertainment district is, because they actually talk about how people who are talented in entertainment, completely normal, non-double meaning entertainment, people who are good at that tend to rise through the ranks of that district very quickly.
Yeah, and Zenitsu was even like, because this, well, we don't.
That's actually why he was thinking he
yeah.
was capable of being the number one at that house.
Well, we don't see it, beat for beat, but the infiltration and investigation actually takes place over the course of several days. And Zenitsu even comments, "I'm actually getting pretty good at the shamisen now, but that's not why I'm here." Tanjiro is going to meet up with Inosuke, but with his superpowered nose, he's like, "Wait, the place I just left now has a bad demon smell. Ah, crap!" And he turns to go back. And in one of my favorite moments, Inosuke is like, "I'm done waiting for that fool Soichiro. I'm going to settle this myself," and promptly leaps into the ceiling.
He just does that because it's one of those ones where we were complimenting him before about not breaking his cover and being all
but I mean, they're throwing the cover away now, so
yeah, so it's like the instant that he has the excuse to. There's a fun bit where in the narration boxes were also done much better because they clarified things that were implied in a way that wasn't intrusive. But there was a fun bit with some of the narration boxes where it explained that Inosuke hated having to wear a kimono because he doesn't like wearing that much clothing. It's too hot.
I'm not complaining.
But Inosuke, cracks his head into the ceiling, and it's like, what is he doing? And then it gets weirder because he demands that the mice bring him his swords.
Ah, yes, the mice.
Don't get me started on
Those
these
mice are so swole.
Swole mice.
These buff diamond mice who are only in the story and aren't explained at all, to be like, hey, why do these characters have their swords? Because these mice can carry a sword. What? Nope,
Yes.
that's why they have their swords.
They are also so inclined to constantly flex because they are so swole.
They're very buff. It's great.
The narration box says, "As you can see, they are extremely strong. One can lift a sword by itself." And they bring in Inosuke his swords. He throws off his kimono, puts on the boar head, and says, "I'm going demon slaying. Headlong rush."
And then around the corner, the madam just like seizes, like, what the hell?
There's it is such a well done panel because when he first goes off the rail full Inosuke mode, someone is sticking their head around the corner into the room he's in, and the look of shock and fear on her face is so great. And then you see her run away and try to warn people about the monster that has suddenly appeared in the brothel.
It's a great juxtaposition because Inosuke is like drawn in a full glamour shot and then just comedy sketch in the background of, oh my god.
Because, like, honestly, if I lived in that universe and I saw Inosuke with his boar mask, I would think he was a demon, even if I didn't know demons really existed.
Meanwhile, Tengen, he decides to just go straight to the point. He finds the boss of the house that Zenitsu is at, and he's like, all right, where's the one I left you with? And also Hinatsuru. Answer quickly. I won't ask you again. As he's holding a knife to the man's throat.
He ninja teleports behind the guy and holds a kunai to his neck.
Zenko, because that was Zenitsu's
cover name.
She just disappeared. Yeah, Zenko.
Oh god.
They all had terrible cover names.
Tanjiro's was almost decent. He was Sumi, but
oh yeah, Tanjiro was the only one who actually had like a different name. Because Inosuke was like Inoko or something. Like they just added Ko.
They could just have Iyu. That's already a girl's name from the series.
Yeah. Zenitsu just disappeared. Meanwhile, Hinatsuru, one of the three wives, she fell ill, so I fired her and sent her to a low-end brothel.
Yes, because we know when she's ill, you send her into the garbage.
Which, in all fairness, is how the business works.
Yes.
They explain in a narration box that it's like, at the time in these areas, that was what you do.
Mm-hmm. But then we have a moment I really liked where Tengen's like, okay, sounds about right. Who's the one that's been causing you trouble? Just, you can trust me, you can tell me. I will not fail to exact revenge.
The fun bit is he goes as far as saying, I will kill them for you, which I felt was maybe jumping the gun a bit, but...
Yeah, but this, the boss of the house, he's freaked out because of who wouldn't be in this situation. And he's like, do I tell him? The Kizuki, he doesn't know it's a Kizuki, but anyway, the Kizuki's really scary. Do I tell this guy? And then he remembers the lady that Daki had killed 2 days ago. And he's like, it's the Oiran who lives in the north room where the sunlight never falls. And it's like, okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure the woman that the Kizuki had dropped from a high height was actually that guy's wife. I'm pretty sure that's because I know it was the wife of one of the owners of one of the houses, and that's who Tengen was talking to.
The point is, he's going to risk upsetting this obvious monster to tell this ninja about it.
Tell the ninja about the monster and maybe the monster will go away. What universe am I in? I feel like there's a lot of people in the Demon Slayer universe who have those questions asked to themselves.
Obviously, Daki's not in her room because she's off menacing the Oiran from the house Tanjiro was in. So Tengen's off on the hunt. Tanjiro arrives just in time to see the Oiran of the house being sucked into Daki's obi. Into her waist strap.
Yeah, it's the sash around the waist for those of you who don't know. Again, hopefully, dear listener, you've done the reading. They do explain that in the reading what the Kizuki is using as her main weapon. She's using the wrap as like a sort of a chain sword kind of thing.
Chain swords, tentacles,
and also it absorbs people because demon magic.
It absorbs people.
Magic interdimensional like food preservation service.
It's a real one size fits all magic power.
Like a lot of demon blood arts.
So begins the fight. Daki doesn't think it's going to be much of a fight. After all, I only have use for Hashira. And she goes to slap Tanjiro away with the obi. He barely survives.
He's concerned that like some magic has like paralyzed him when he can't get up, and he's like, no, I just got hit that hard. This is a Kizuki. Oh boy, okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Ah, crap, the strap broke on the Nezuko box. I'm gonna leave you here. I'm gonna go fight the demon. I'll be back.
Nezuko, I want you not to open the door unless it's to protect your own life. I know you'll totally not listen to me about that, but...
I was sitting there like, it's like, like some of the stuff that's been said about the anime, I was semi-spoiled, and I was pretty sure that Nezuko had a big thing in this arc. So I was kind of aware that this was going to happen, but like, Nezuko had better save Tanjiro's ass when he gets it over his head. I want that to happen. That's such a, because again, there's that whole... The way it was initially framed, the Nezuko stuff wasn't great, and it has been getting progressively better and better. I'm like, this would just be the cherry on top of Nezuko having a badass moment coming in to rescue Tanjiro at the last minute. And oh boy, we're gonna get there. First, we get some really good stuff with Tanjiro in particular. This actually goes into what I was saying with, they do a good job of developing Tanjiro and showing that he has grown a lot since last time, because he fought lower 1, barely managed to hold his weakest form off alone. Now he's fighting upper 6, so 1 rank more, and like he's correctly assessing, I'm probably going to lose this fight, but I can definitely survive long enough to keep everybody alive and wait for Tengen to arrive. And he holds up really, really well in the meantime. Mm-hmm. It takes longer for Tengen to arrive than he expected, because he doesn't realize that Tengen is he's noticed the machinations of the Kizuki, but a different aspect of the machinations of the Kizuki, which ends up leading into some more great Tanjiro and Nezuko moments before Tengen finally arrives. But they don't make Tanjiro too overpowered that now he can actually 1v1 a Kizuki. but they do show he's grown since.
The other thing we get that is shown, he's especially in his training, like we get his internal monologue, and thankfully not the narrator text box, explaining that he has come to the realization that the water breathing form is not very compatible with his body. In fact, it's because he chips his sword while he's attacking the Obi. Kizuki is just like, oh, you must have had an inferior blade for it to chip like that. And he's like, no, it was made by a master craftsman. A blade only breaks because it's wielded by an inferior swordsman. And that's when we then get the whole I've come to the realization, water breathing style, I'm never going to be good at it. It is incompatible with my body. I learned it because I had very good teachers. I did very well because I had very good teachers, but I will never be able to master it.
There's another good bit that I think is a really good show moment of Tanjiro's personality, because he is immediately quick to defend, no, the person who made my sword is a master. And that's a very Tanjiro, think the best of everyone sort of thing. Even if it was true that his sword was the problem, he'd probably still say that. But the really cool moment that shows that Tanjiro he's not blank-faced good boy anymore. He's really growing into the man he's meant to be. He's like, okay, I believe it's true that the person who made my sword is good, so why is my blade chipping? And that's also the reason why it's really good that it was his own internal monologue and not narration boxes, because we can actually see it's not something that he realized until that moment. He wasn't even thinking about it, and he's like, wait, my blade is chipped. I know the person who made my sword is good. It's me. I'm the problem. It's not that I'm bad, it's that I'm incompatible with water breathing. Okay, from now on, I'm going to focus on the Hinokame Kagura, because that I know can work.
I will jump the gun slightly and say I don't know if I'd call it my favorite fight, but definitely the opening rounds of Tanjiro versus Daki is very high ranked in the fights in this reading for me. Perhaps the whole manga, just because Tanjiro has so much good character moment out of it, and on top of it just being a really cool fight. And the Hinokame Kagura always looks beautiful.
The Hinokame Kagura is really pretty, and it's so much character moment for Tanjiro.
The blade work is very pretty. What it does to Tanjiro makes him look like he just went to an Evanescence concert, because he is bleeding black blood from his eyes in a tear pattern that looks like he put on his mother's makeup to look like a jester. It's
It's beautiful.
He looks it's pretty rough. There's a moment where this is what I trained for. I refuse to lose. Burn, burn, burn. And then flashback, it's Rengoku's face. Keep your heart burning. And he starts hitting the Kagura moves. I love it.
He starts chaining them because he couldn't up to that point. The reason why he wasn't really using the Hinokame Kagura very much was because every other time he used them in a panic situation, it kind of wrecked his body after the fact. And he can recover from them, but he can't chain them the way he chains his water breathing, the way you're supposed to chain sword breathing moves. It also flashes back to him during the training that had been skipped over at the beginning, and he's like, I know that the Hinokame Kagura is better. If my body temperature is higher, I can handle it better. So there was a point where he was asking one of the Butterfly Mansion girls not to tell on him that he had a fever because he was using a fever to train.
Fever is good, please. Just more time.
which was a cute moment juxtaposed with, this is actually, again, the narration boxes were used so much better this time, because that was juxtaposed with the narrator explaining that, oh yeah, this is a great moment for Tanjiro. He's also pushing his body so far past the limit, he is literally breaking himself. And if he does not stop soon, he is going to kill himself. Which is where the eye bleed is coming from.
Yeah. Well, the eye bleed starts when, they have the opening bouts of their fight, and some random passerby comes out. It's like, what's all the noise? Why do you have a sword? What's going on here? And Doctor,
don't fight in front of my establishment.
Oh, that guy's such an idiot.
He really
people are having a shonen anime battle in front of hey, you people, stop fighting in front of my store. He's unarmed.
He's unarmed. He's just some
old... see them doing supernatural stuff. He should know better.
You kids, shakes fist.
If I owned a 7-Eleven and two guys were having a shootout in front of my store, you know what I'm not doing? Going outside.
Going outside and tell those two ruffians to not be shooting guns at each other. That'll show them.
You two people who are safely shooting each other. Stop that.
I'm making myself a target.
He got severely injured, and there is
Didn't he lose a hand?
lost a hand. It's one of those ones where it's like, I don't necessarily want to litigate if he deserved something that severe, but him being in pain after the end of that, he did make a stupid decision. That is a self-inflicted wound.
I love the most catty we ever get Tanjiro is when he has like taken a very like grievous blow to himself to stop this guy from getting instantly killed, like someone in a house did. Tanjiro sees that someone else died in this crossfire.
Several someones in houses, because Daki is not discriminating in the moment.
And Tanjiro just turns back to the guy who is crying, just like, hey, wrap that in a tourniquet. I do not have time to help you right now. And I'm like, good. That's nicer than he deserved, Tanjiro.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it's again, Tanjiro is character developing. He's still recognizably Tanjiro, but he's not being overly nice.
That's a whole lot of serious that's happening right now. How about we get to the part that Inosuke is actually a cat, not a boar?
Oh, you mean this fucking bullshit? Where
No,
Inosuke
he's
just
totally like a mouse because mice can dislocate, like flatten completely.
Inosuke sticks his head in a hole because we got established earlier by Sound Hashira that he like did some echolocation. It's like, that's weird. There are these tunnels that go to like a big opening underground and they're only the size of a small child. And then Inosuke sticks his head, is like, my head can fit, but not my muscly arms. Good thing I've always had the ability to dislocate everything in my body and slither like a snake through the holes. And I'm like,
Biggity.
Headlong rush! No one can stop Lord Inosuke!
Him so much.
I'm just saying, Inosuke gets away with some bullshit in this arc.
He
It
does.
is really cool and really funny, so I'm gonna let him have it because he deserves it.
One of the foundational moments of his introduction is showing off his flexibility. You know,
That is true.
The bends backwards, puts head through legs moment.
Oh yeah.
There is something that is going to get echoed later, but I really do like that Inosuke just gets to have this like wacky cool moment because considering how the Mugen Train arc ended, these guys deserve a win. These guys just deserve a win at this point. And
oh yeah, after an entire arc of getting 3 humble pies force fed to him, Inosuke having a moment where he gets to do his cackle and be cool, I felt our boy appreciated it. With his dislocation powers, Inosuke finds the demon's larder, where a whole bunch of the obi with people printed on them looking like Enigma. He's like, cloth with human printing on it. She's trapping people down here so that she can eat them later. Time to cut them all free. Oh, hey, Zenitsu's here. What a loser.
he's asleep in the
obi.
And we get the running theme of Kizuki not ever wanting to eat the food they have. They always want to gather a large amount of it to eat at once. Unfortunately, the main characters save them before then.
Yeah, I said in our Discord chat, it's like, if the Kizuki would just stop playing with their food, this wouldn't happen to them.
Like, she mentions at some point she kept them like as they start fighting this obi when it comes to life. She makes a mentions like, I kept these as hostages to like help me win in a fight. And I'm like, you clearly didn't need hostages. And also, you could have eaten some of them.
I think this case is a little bit less egregious than that because specifically she recognized that because the people who are trapped are the 3 wives in Zenitsu. Or 2 of the wives, right? Because one of the wives faked being sick.
Yeah, the wife who drank poison in order to fake being sick, she got away.
But she had to keep drinking the poison because she realized that the demon Obi was watching her, and if she suddenly got better, that she'd get attacked. But 2 of the people who are in the Obi are the 2 wives and Zenitsu, and to some extent, the reason why she hesitated on those 3 individuals is Zenitsu had literally just been captured. She didn't have time to eat him, and the 2 wives, she explicitly knew they were spying on her. So she was also curious about what was going on. And there is an element of, if the Kizuki would stop playing with their food, they'd be in a lot better place. But they have also been doing this for centuries. And there is a level of arrogance that you get when you've been murdering people unreproached for literal centuries. So it's a very stock villain weakness that the author gets to slap on these guys.
So I'm not terribly mad about it. We have a fun moment where Inosuke activates Ultra Instinct, dodges the demon Obi attacking him, and cuts free the hostages.
And then we finally get to properly meet Tengen's wives, who end up for being like side background characters, end up being really endearing really fast. I love how quickly I absolutely started adoring all three of them once the second one.
Can we also point out the very weird coincidence that Tengen's three wives all look vaguely similar to the main characters? And it makes a lot more sense why he was suddenly willing to go like, no, I will switch for these three rather than this random group of people I was stealing. They remind me of my wives.
I hadn't considered that, but you're right, and that's weird.
There's the one that like you see as sort of like the like main leader one of the group, is the one in the ponytail, and then there's the one who's like comically scared, who's like the
Zenitsu style crybaby.
Yeah, and those two are the ones that we interact with the most, and like especially the crybaby.
That one is Suma. And they're helping Inosuke free other hostages, and she's like, I'm not much of a fighter, as she is actively stabbing a demon thing.
If you're surrounded by excellence, then it's really hard for you to really feel like you can shine on your own, though.
Tengen stopped short of saying that he pisses excellence, so...
Yeah.
I think the one in the ponytails is probably the one that, like, personality-wise is closest to Inosuke, even though...
Yeah, that's Makio.
Even though she seems like she'd be the one taking point in the group, like, in the three of them leadership-wise, it really is a case where it's like, just like Zenitsu, like she says, I'll probably die first. And it's like, no, you'll be fine. Believe in yourself. It's sort of the same reaction I have to Inosuke, where it's like, I'm immediately on your side because I can see you're capable. And the only thing holding back is you not believing in yourself. And that's a very sympathetic way of portraying a character. So I was immediately on their side.
Speaking of Zenitsu, he was freed and is asleep, so it's thunderclap and flash time. And Inosuke's like, maybe you should just stay asleep.
They did my boy dirty in this arc.
Really? I thought he did good.
He is asleep to the point he has full conversations in his sleep.
Actually, I wanted to talk about that because I have thoughts about that.
Technically, he doesn't start getting real egregious until the second half of the fight when him and Inosuke get paired off on their own, but like...
And start having, stratagem talk.
In the first half, he's very much like what he's been so far, which is like, he's asleep, he's doing things. In the next part, he starts noticing things with his eyes closed and points them out to people and like my boy's just awake.
See, that's the thing. The way I'm seeing it is he's not fully conscious yet, but because he's been doing missions on his own, he's like, I see it as like he's in an almost half awake state. Mm-hmm. He's not quite fully asleep. And that is, like I said, they all have these moments where they have like a clear step forward where Zenitsu is that little bit closer to eventually he's going to be able to just be awake and be cool.
Do we think that he's just being asleep just because he needs to remove his full consciousness from being able to pursue dangerous
It's how he represses the fear that ruins his sword breathing.
Yeah.
He's not acting like a goofball when he's in this state. He's getting closer to the point where, like, this is what an awake Zenitsu would be like. He's not there yet. He's not reached his full potential yet, but this is a big step forward for him. I really liked that they did that for him.
Yeah, I thought of it as another step on the road.
Yes, but it is pretty silly, thinking about
It is silly. It doesn't help that it doesn't help that his clown geisha makeup
that never goes away
wasn't washed off.
He is in bad clown makeup the entire time and will occasionally have a snot bubble coming out. So
I will agree with you there, Matt.
Yeah.
That he has done a little dirty in that regard.
Done dirty in that regard. I do agree with that because as much as I was enjoying the fact that he was semi-lucid for this and I was like, wow, that's a really cool character moment for Zenitsu. I wish he didn't look so awful right now. Like, I don't even mind the snot bubble thing because that's just manga framing for this character as asleep. It's the fact that he didn't no one took the pigtails and wiped the makeup off is the part that was a bit egregious for me.
The freed hostages and Inosuke are doing a pretty good job of keeping this worm obi in check. And then, ba-boom! Tengen with his exploding swords. We haven't mentioned that yet.
But he has those.
His swords explode. He bursts through the ceiling and drops in looking super cool and says, all right, I'm here to finish off this thing. And we're going to get the hostages out of here. Good work, ladies and lads.
Can we really just focus on the thing he says right before he uses his swords, where he says, like, my swords are amazing. I actually don't know what they do because they instantly kill everyone I've hit with them so far.
I've never had someone survive a hit. Therefore, I don't really know the full extent of what these swords are capable of.
It is such a both cool and dumb brag, which fits his character perfectly.
They're chained together like nunchuck as well.
Except they have like a meat cleaver shape.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love his weapon. Makio and Suma are like, oh, he's here. Oh, that's good. Okay, we're gonna have a lot of emotions for a second, do a little bit of flashbacking.
We get the backstory of the four of them, which is pretty cute. I liked it.
They were raised as Konoichi. They were raised to believe that they were bodies to be sent on missions, and if they died, so be it. And meanwhile, Tengen is like, no, if you think your lives are in danger, you need to retreat because I want you three to live. And Makio is like, but then how do I do the job? You'll figure it out. You're smart.
Where they're talking about, you know, we've been doing this for a while. Maybe it's time we think about retirement. And it does such a good job of, like, strictly speaking, Tengen and all three of his wives are completely expendable characters. Any of these characters can die and nothing would change narratively. So
Shame.
like,
he was just a day away from retirement.
but that's mentioned, and I'm like, oh God, I love all four of them. Please do not kill them. I know you can and you probably will, but please do not kill any of them.
Is this also the same backstory where Tengen makes a brief mention about how his brother's an asshole and his brother is like maintaining the ninja way, but he's kind of a jerk. He just treats his wife as a factory for babies. And I'm like, that's some cool character development. I doubt that character is ever going to show up.
Probably not. That does happen later.
Yeah, that flashback happens later. Actually, a cool bit of subtle work by the mangaka is to give you an idea of exactly how long these four have had this operation going. In the flashback, Tengen has a different design.
Mm-hmm.
It has elements of the design that we know, but it's proof that they have been doing this long enough for him to have at least one character rework. I really like his Naruto headband, which is bedazzled.
Got rhinestones in it because they're definitely not diamonds. Those things are huge.
That's just what I'd expect from my wives.
It's great.
Fortunately, I'm part of the Demon Slayer Corps, so I'm required to protect all these boring normal people. You maintain your own lives, though.
Again, direct quote.
And Inosuke immediately ruins it by going, hey, you, God of Festivals, we got more stuff going on. I am having a moment.
With my 3 wives. You have 3 wives, you asshole.
Well, 2 of his 3
brags-
wives. Because one of them...
He brags about that a lot, and I kind of love it.
You know what? His wives are all great, so I would, yeah.
But Tengen's like, all right, well, we've saved the hostages. Now to go join the actual fight.
Time to go join the boss fight.
The pieces of the worm obi fly back and reabsorb into Daki, which gives her a transformation, so you know she's stronger now.
Yep.
Oh, my larder got torn apart. That means the Hashira is here. Oh, Lord Muzan's gonna love this.
Yeah, it turns very weird kind of adoration, affection for Lud Muzan that he obviously does not deserve in any respect, but it also makes me uncomfortable reading this section.
It doesn't help that she has been in lingerie this entire time, and that will not change.
We haven't mentioned Daki is dressed like a stripper. She's got like 6-inch heels on.
A top that just covers the parts that need to be covered.
And then her lacy panties and the Zetairyuki going
She's dressed like a stripper because she's in the prostitute district. I don't know what...
This sort of harkens back to something I mentioned in Eden Zero. I actually really enjoyed her design because I'm totally fine with seeing some fan service as long as it doesn't take me out of the story. Why wouldn't she be dressed this way?
There's also the fact that, as we'll discover later, she's only 13. So
Yeah, that is a problem.
Well, she's also a demon who's lived for hundreds of years, so I think that's...
It's a complicated situation. I don't want to be anywhere near this woman, but I appreciate the aesthetic.
yes, we appreciate the aesthetic.
This is actually something that they do a good job of. Like, they don't explicitly foreshadow it, but they do kind of imply that whilst Tanjiro is fighting her, that she's not really at full power. And like, then there's the thing with the Obi where she reabsorbs it, but you kind of get the impression that she's still holding back. And this also goes back into the Tanjiro is 1v1ing a Kizuki and he's holding up. He's having real trouble beating her, but he's surprising her and actually pushing her limits. But they also don't take it too far in that suddenly Tanjiro has protagonist powers to the nth degree where, you know, like you kind of know that she has more than what she's showing and she's surprised that she has to show as much as she does. He almost takes her head off.
Something she's never felt before, obviously.
Tanjiro almost takes her head off and she reveals that she can turn her neck into her Obi. And, you know, like it's moments like that like Tanjiro has so many really badass moments in this. I really appreciated the fact that they never took it too far because they basically pushed it as far as you could go before, you know, you're starting to give him Mary Sue powers. And I really appreciated that a lot.
They got real close, though. I was about to be like, I'm writing Tanjiro off. And then Ghost Brother came out to go like, you're going to die. And I'm like, oh, good. Finally, someone's putting a stop to this. Because it's like, did you know that I'm actually the best at this fire style? And I'm like, holy shit, Tanjiro, why?
Well, okay, so after Daki slaughters a bunch of people, Tanjiro enters his rage mode. That's when he gets the bloodshot eyes and he's crying blood, and it's real edgy. We actually learn where the scar on his forehead came from.
I think we already knew that was a burn scar he got when he was little. I think they said that in the beginning.
Daki actually notes it's... Was it Daki? Somebody notes.
No, it was Rengoku's father who wrote an apology letter like, I'm sorry I was such a drunk asshole last time.
I do not process emotions in inadequacy well, so I apologize for that.
I remember now. Why I was mad at Tanjiro, because he has this little monologue to himself. It's like, no, I'm not the main character. I don't have main character powers. Proceeds to show off main character powers. And I'm like, I get in universe, you're creating a distinction, but meta-wise, you are saying I don't have this cool shonen super special power no one else does, while showing off the cool super special power no one else has. Like, Tanjiro tries me at the best of times, and this was one of those times.
I feel like this entire journey is just Tanjiro's acceptance that he is a main character. That's the entire, like...
That's his character growth.
Well, actually, like, sort of the thing that didn't bother me in the least, and specifically the reason is there's a reason why Chosen One narratives exist. You kind of have to have your protagonist have something special about them, because otherwise they're not the protagonist. And that can be taken too far. And like, there's a lot of media that like deconstructs, you know, how a protagonist should work and things like that. You know, basically what Tanjiro is saying is, I don't have magic powers that make me powerful. I'm just going to keep going until I either win or break. And I appreciated that a lot.
That's already a trope, though. That there are so many protags who, despite all odds, will keep going and keep going.
It's trying to deflect the Chosen One narrative into the narrative, into the trope that you mentioned, Jay. I understand Matt's frustration. I enjoyed it because this was cool, and I, as we have documented much on this show, I'm real good at turning my brain off for so.
Well, I think the important thing here is different people like different protagonists for different reasons, and in the case for me and Sam, the Determinator protagonist is something that we are hardcore on board with. That's something.
Who the hell do you think I am?
That's something we're inclined to like. So this didn't push Tanjiro for us because we like that sort of thing, and it's not Matt's jam is sort of what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Now, readers, you can guess what kind of protag that Jay prefers.
Attractive Bishi boy.
Close.
Oh.
Anyway, getting back to the plot, we have Tanjiro, in his rage mode, leaps up onto the roof to continue the battle with Daki, who's like, all right, I'm going now. Goodbye. I'm going to go fight the Hashira. And I love this entire sequence. Tanjiro grabs her leg, like, where are you going, bitch? And she tears her own leg off to escape his attack. He hits her with the people die when they are killed. A life that is lost can never return. It's gone forever.
Mhm.
That's his actual line, which is a bit more eloquent than our boy Shiro.
It's
But
the not dumb version of that line. Yeah. One of the things that I think that we glossed over, that it's a quick moment, but I think it's a really good moment where whilst Tanjiro is in his Determinator mode, he's basically resigned to, I'm going to kill this Kizuki and it's going to kill me, but I don't care. And then the thoughts of his family, which again, whether or not they're ghosts and actually talking to him is left pretty vague. But regardless, the thoughts of his...
At this point, I'm pretty sure they are.
have to be ghosts who are talking to him. Like there is...
They've not outright said it, but it's starting to really look that way. But regardless, the point is thoughts of his family keep him from basically sacrificing himself to take the demon's head.
Jacob, you know how I know that they are real ghosts? Because the narrator didn't pop in and say, these are not actually ghosts. This is just a memory of...
I mean, that is a fair piece of evidence. But yeah, Tanjiro has stopped. Yeah, Tanjiro has stopped doing his things, and then the thing Sam mentioned happened.
Tanjiro is giving her this speech about why life is important. Don't you remember that? You were human once. And Daki's having flashbacks that aren't hers. She's remembering Tanjiro's dad with the mark grown into a weird flame tattoo on his forehead saying the same thing. And she's like, these aren't my memories. Wait, is this Lord Muzan's blood reacting to this?
Her hand starts shaking and she's like, I'm not scared, my blood is. That's not good.
Okay, of all the weird mystic bullshit in this series, and there's a lot of it, Zenitsu's yellow hair, everything Inosuke does, the fact that Tanjiro having a fever makes him better at the Hinokami Kagura, that one I'm the most about just because I love reincarnation and bloodline narratives like that.
Well, it's also like the whole thing about we kind of touched on this last time, was like the demonization process is inherently like some kind of like mind control from Lord Moon. Like there is a very large amount of wiping away the personality of the person. That's why when you first turn into a demon, you are a feral beast. Like, yeah, you start eating people and then maybe you'll regain like flashes of your human memories. But like there's a very strong thing. You're barely the same person after it. Like, there is a lot taken from you.
This is actually something that's really important relative to Tanjiro's character, because this section, I think, did a really good job of threading the needle on this concept, is that because they're not really who they used to be, trying to talk them down like Tanjiro was originally inclined to do is a bad idea, because there's not a person there to talk to. But Tanjiro also recognizes that people don't become demons unless something bad happened to them. And that's why he's sympathetic towards them, no matter how evil they get.
Also a really good line where he like threads, because normally you get like the thing of like, well, I forgive you for everything you've done. Tanjiro kind of has the thing like, I understand you're hurting, but also like, I understand bad things happen to you.
You're hurting other people and that's not okay.
Well, more importantly than that, because he's not really like judging their morality. He's more talking about their thought process. He says something along the lines of, I know bad things happen to you, but that just means you're all the more aware of how that hurts other people. So you perpetuating it, you know what you're doing is wrong and are continuing to do it. Like that is worse than like acting out of ignorance.
Yeah, he says that actually in this stage of the fight, and unfortunately the Kizuki responds in exactly the way you expect someone like this. No, I'm going to balance the scales. I'll inflict as much suffering on the universe as I possibly can, which is
to make up for what happened to me.
The scales, what? It makes as much sense as it sounds.
Yeah, it's a very sad reaction to pain, but it happens a depressingly large amount of time, which, I mean, hey, that's part of what fiction is for, is to express feelings like this.
So Tanjiro fights Daki more. I'm not going to go beat for beat. It's really cool. There's a lot of clever shonen moments, like I can't cut her neck because she's made it too limp. I need to pull the Obi's taut in order to do that.
No, I'm very excited to see the anime interpretation of this fight because I want to see the cool like billowing like Obi attacks and everything. But like 1v1ing it on a podcast is not great. So yeah, a cool fight happens.
So cool fight happens. Tanjiro is about to cut her again, but he's pushed himself to his limit. The ghost of one of his siblings is like, big brother, you have to breathe, please. He collapses, coughing and hacking. And this is my favorite moment in the narration boxes, where human beings have two limitations. You can reach your physical limitation, and you'll be racked with pain and cannot move. But if you ignore the pain and move further, you can burn away at your own life force to keep going. But if you cross that threshold, even while fighting a demon, it will ruin you. And then in my favorite panel, Tanjiro is on his knees, coughing up blood before Daki. If anger alone could carry you through, then demons would have been wiped from the earth.
Mm-hmm.
What a statement on shonen storytelling for the past like 40 years.
Right?
Hey, getting real angry that someone wronged you and screaming until you become the best, man, that sure just diminishes everyone else who was angry that they got hurt and then were killed. Like,
it is my favorite panel in this entire reading, and there's a lot of really good stuff that happens afterwards. But as Jake wanted and as Matt was getting to, Nezuko to the rescue.
Yeah, because then we get some of my favorite stuff of there's that really eloquent bit, and then Nezuko appears behind Daki. Nezuko does not have these limitations, and she's
she is a demon,
and she's very, very angry.
And Daki's also has a great quote. She's like, "Wait, hold on, what's going on? Why is she as strong as an upper rank like demon? Like."
Yes.
She's not eating any humans.
Yeah, she's supposed to be literally like a half-developed demon, I think is how they phrase it, because she hasn't been feeding off of human flesh.
Nezuko kicks the top of her head off.
Yeah, I think we were worried about this in the first reading, but I think this kind of cements it. There's something up with Nezuko that is not bog standard demon.
Well, I mean, I don't remember demon physician's name, but even she says after she heals her, when they're fighting the two demons who come after them in the safe house, that there's something up with Nezuko.
Tamio was like, yeah, me and Simkun over here, we killed people. We were bad for a while. We brute force mentally overcame this. Nezuko never did that. She's different.
She built different.
She built different.
Something's weird. Yeah, but that was an abnormality. Now she has slept her way to the top.
Yes, slept her way to the top, everyone.
I mean, yes, but like literally she...
Yeah, we need to be careful because this is the entertainment district arc. When we say she slept her way to the top, we mean actually sleeping, not the other kind.
I love how rather tame this episode is. We're still gonna have to make this
explicit.
Yeah.
Like, the other thing is, even this arc is actually relatively tame because the only thing that's really racy about the whole thing, other than the implications they don't say or show in any meaningful way, is the Kizuki's is Daki's outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the closest we get to anything risque.
Yeah.
Nezuko is instantly healing every limb she gets cut off,
but she goes full Akaza.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically the exact same paneling, which is a marvelous visual callback. It's like, oh, she's like the last Kizuki. She's like the upper rank 3. She's so strong. Oh no, she's like the last one that killed Rengoku.
And
oh no,
is starting to blend in personality-wise with being like the last one.
She bites through the bamboo gag.
Yeah, it is such a cool moment, you know, because I mean, like, superpowered evil sides are a trope. This is a really good superpowered evil side because you are really scared about how far Nezuko is going to go. Yeah. Like, you stop caring about whether or not she beats Daki and more about if Nezuko is going to be okay.
I just remembered, as far as risque things in this battle,
okay, yeah, that is true.
Nezuko, as we've established, is able to transform her like body's physical age. That's why we get cute little baby Nezuko.
She's physically aged about 10 years.
Yeah, full Demon Nezuko has decided, I want to be a 25-year-old woman with all the power of a great demon lord with, like, horns?
A horn.
So I brought up to Matt earlier how apparently this has gotten the fandom upset because they're claiming that they have over-sexualized Netsuko. And I'm just like...
Oh, okay. I'm a hermit, and I heard about that controversy. If you look at just the image of her, like, the kimono doesn't change size, so she has cleavage. But, like, if you're looking at it in the context of, like, how the panels work, they don't, like, frame her body sexily. Like, it's scary. It's one of those ones where it's like, guys, context matters.
We also haven't seen the anime. The anime might have done.
The anime might have done Nezuko dirty. That's possible.
I actually did look up the clip of this moment because it has premiered in the anime at this point. It's terrifying because you can hear Nezuko's bloodthirsty laughter as she is torturing Daki.
And that's what I was about to get at. Context matters, because if it was a pinup of Nezuko looking like that, like as like an in-betweener, I could see someone rightfully getting at least weary of that sort of thing. But this is a scary moment. I wasn't looking at Nezuko and thinking, ooh, look at the boobs. No, I was looking at Nezuko thinking, oh God, is she going to be okay? No, Nezuko, you're better than this. And it really is the case where being concerned about over-sexualizing an underage character, that's not an unreasonable reflex, but pay attention to context before you flip out, because that does matter a lot.
It's like 80% of internet controversy, Jacob.
Like, I'd like to be part of the positive change. Okay, Jay?
Like most conversations on Twitter, I'm not sure real people are having them.
Again, I know you're right, but I'd like to try to be a part of positive change in that regard.
I'm pretty sure y'all are just the tulpa of some sort of rage demon. like what Nezuko has become. She's also got these weird tattoo marks on her where she's got like vines.
Yeah, it's like wisteria vines.
Symbolism.
Yeah, I was gonna say wisteria has become so much more important because we mentioned it's like the wisteria magic is how the symbol rank thing happens. It's like I don't remember those being anything more than a mild demon repellent, but okay.
The fact they call it wisteria technology rather than the magic it clearly is unnerved me, because it's like, yes, we've developed some wisteria technology where if you say a magic passphrase, nope, that's just magic.
It's match attack. It's just match attack.
But in this case, good symbolism for especially what we see later.
But yeah, we have a moment that I found really cool where I hope we get an explanation for this at some point, but Nezuko only does kicks as her attack, and she goes to do another kick on Daki, and she's like, oh, so you're big and strong now, you've entered Super Saiyan mode, but you still just do the same stupid attack. I'll just sever your leg again. You'll never regenerate it fast enough. Oh, you regenerated it fast enough. Ow!
I was a fool.
It's like Nezuko goes into kick. She's like, I'll block this attack by cutting your leg off. And that happens. The Obi goes through, and then she gets stomped anyway. And it's like, how is that possible? I know I hit her. Wait, look, there's blood on her leg. She literally regenerated that fast. Oh God! Which I think at that point, Nezuko, some of Nezuko's blood ends up getting on Daki, and she realizes that's not the only trick in Nezuko's bag.
Meanwhile, another one of the ghost siblings is like, Tanjiro, Nezuko's lost it. Wake up, please. But yeah, Nezuko sets Daki on fire with the blood demon art. There's a really cool thing where Nezuko becomes Monsoon from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Of course.
Okay.
The members of our audience that know that will understand. I know these three don't, but all I know is that Nezuko says, memes, the DNA of the soul. And then when her limbs are severed again, they stay connected to her by her congealed blood. So she's able to extendo arm to continue to beat the hell out of Daki and like pluck her head back on. It is an extremely unsettling series of panels, which is reflected in Daki's expression of what? Why? No, please.
It's the first time we've seen her concerned about something. There is this really great transition of Nezuko gets her big damn hero moment and is really cool, and then very quickly it becomes, Nezuko, are you all right? Oh, you're not all right. And
because she kicks Daki through a wall, and she's like, all right, now to go finish off my enemy, and ooh, tasty human.
like, this is such a good illustration of the illustrations. Her facial expressions are great because I didn't even know 100% if she was going to eat that person, because she was in rage mode. Like, she was going to like rip him to pieces. And if the eating came next, that was probable. But like, she was just in a berserker rage. But the other kind of nice thing is you could also, like, she was definitely fighting it, because if she, like, the power that she'd shown up to that point, if she wanted to get to that guy, he'd be dead. Tanjiro manages to get there just in time to hold her back. And there's also, it's one of those ones where, like, from a narrative perspective, you know that Nezuko's not gonna die, because then the series is over. So it's one of those ones where it's like, there's that whole, I was mentioning that I was all this time I've been very scared for Tengen and his wives, because strictly speaking, they're narratively expendable. Tanjiro and Nezuko are the least expendable characters in the series, but the image of Tanjiro's Nichiren sword in Nezuko's mouth gave me a level of anxiety that I was not happy about. It was really well done.
He wrestles her away. He sings a lullaby. She goes back to sleep. She becomes Bebe Nezuko again.
There's a really cool moment where he's still wrestling Nezuko, and Tengen appears, and he was at the thing where they were talking about whether or not they kill Nezuko.
Yeah, because all the Hashira were there.
Really cool moment for him. He was like, "Look, I wanted to kill her the last time. You had better prove right now that you can keep her under control. I'm following the master's orders, and I'm not gonna kill her right now, but buddy, get her under control, because like, that's as far as it goes before I change my mind and go against orders and just end her right now." And like, it's a really good moment of, like, he's a Hashira. He's not happy that Nezuko has been allowed to live, but it also is, again, talking about how this character who started off as really, really unlikable suddenly gets really endearing. He's legitimately encouraging, hey, I don't want to have to kill her. Fix this, buddy.
Man, I read that more as he was like real casual about that. He's like, wow, she's really strong. That's a cool demon pet you got there. You don't look like you've got this under control though, because he's currently got the sword through Nezuko's mouth. It's like, you want me to take, like, if you're gonna have to take care of this if this becomes a problem.
Well, no, I've got it. Thanks for the help, boss.
Cool.
you should go deal with the Kizuki. Oh, you've cut her head off.
That's actually kind of what I was saying, though, is the fact that he was so casual about it. I appreciated that, because he wasn't unrealistically encouraging towards Tanjiro, but he also wasn't antagonistic about it. And I appreciated that. I thought that, balanced out where it would make sense for him to be in that situation.
He had the like level of, like, someone said, like, you're loading like a car full of stuff. You're helping someone move, and someone grabs like a really heavy thing, and you're like, hey, you want some help with that? No, I got it. And you just watch them struggle from the moving van, going like, yeah, you got it, right?
Right?
You sure got that, huh, buddy?
Yeah, you could totally handle, like,
sing her a lullaby or something. And so Tanjiro does, from their childhood, and it's very endearing.
It's a very sweet moment.
It makes Nezuko remember being a human, and she sobs until she falls asleep and becomes Bebe again, and hurt a bit. So we beheaded the Kizuki. Good work, gang.
Yeah, that seemed suspiciously easy.
Tanjiro's doing his recovery breathing off screen for a bit. Not important now, but it will be important in a few seconds when I have some questions.
Well, he also has to go put Nezuko back in her box.
Yeah. Got to go put her back in the box so she can have her nap. Daki is just kind of sitting there with her head in her hands, literally.
Going off about things and stuff.
She's berating you, like, how rude of you. Why'd you cut my head off, you asshole? Why are you not dead yet, you screeching harpy? This sucks.
Tengen is so confused.
Yes.
I just wanted to kill a Hashira on my own. Gyutaro,
She
help!
starts to reflect her physical, mental age. Very much
Yeah,
in this moment.
as she becomes a bawling child.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's not so much that they didn't really like explicitly foreshadow something like this happening, but I did kind of get the impression that there was like two of them like linked, and that was the reason why Tanjiro was able to do so well against her. And this getting revealed, and it's like, there was a reason why Tanjiro could almost 1v1 a Kizuki. I keep flipping those two for some reason.
Jacob, did you also have the same hindsight I had, where I saw the Kizuki get killed and I noticed, hey, we're barely halfway through the chapter count?
Oh yeah, no, well, see, I was like, it seems like she's way calmer even when she's losing. I have a feeling that there's like two of them linked or something like that.
And then, hey, guess what?
And that, yeah, I'm a little bit proud of myself. Like, I wouldn't have said it out loud, put money on it or anything like that, but I'm kind of proud that I actually did catch that, because I sort of saw that coming. And it all the stuff that we were saying before of like Tanjiro's right on the line of being a little bit too much of a protagonist. When I saw that, I'm like, yup, that's exactly why he could go toe to toe with a Kizuki for so long, because there's two of them. That's like 40% power.
Well, so the fact that she was just, the whole fight sequence was so immature seeming. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would expect the Kizuki to be a little bit more intellectual and calculating than she was. You are an annoying bug, I must squash you, is just kind of like what
That's not really Kizuki material.
Yes, exactly.
And so I don't think we've ever mentioned it yet, dear listeners, but Daki is upper rank number 6. She's the bottom of the higher ranks of Kizuki. Another upper rank number 6 shows up, her brother, Gyutaro, who is an ugly-ass mantis man.
Who emerges out of her neck.
Yeah, technically Gyutaro is not ranked. His eyes are clean.
I think he has scratchy, like it's scratchy. Yeah. It's not really the number symbol, but it's something close to it.
She carries the rank, but he helps her with everything.
It's sort of a stand situation where he is her power.
And he squinches out of her neck. It's really gross. And he's, oh, you poor thing. You really shouldn't get that pretty face of yours all messed up. And you lost your head. Oh, we should really pin it to your neck. Hey, you, fancy guy. Did you hurt my sister? Yeah. You're a real handsome looking dude, too. And you just blocked that attack I did. Now, you're probably really strong. I bet the people fawn all over you. You get a lot of praise, don't you? Well, yeah, I'm a really cool, flashy, sexy guy. I've even got 3 wives. You have 3 wives, you asshole! That's too much!
I just love how canonically, no one's outraged with the fact that he has 3 wives. They're just freaking jealous that he has 3 wives.
Jealous of him, and I'm not even in that universe.
Have you seen his wives?
His wives are
really hot. They're hot and strong.
All 3 of them are too good for me, and he has 3.
Look, they're all 3 Japanese assassins, and as we know, Japan is 1 country over from Russia.
Wow, actually, you're right.
Oh my God,
you're right. I guess Sam does have more of a reason to hate him than I do.
We're gonna get to the fight, our longest fight in this whole freaking manga. We spent an hour of this show on it already. We're gonna spend another hour on the next one. Editing me's gonna hate this. Yeah, I do.
That sounds like a future problem.
Fortunately, there is a lot less talking, because there's a lot of setup to getting to this point. There was a lot of strategy. There are a lot of wham moments, though. I think this is going to be a bit easy to basically go from one to the next.
Pretty quickly, the main trio kind of comes to the same realization that they all kind of admit is a hunch, but a good enough one. Oh, these must be a paired set of demons, and I guess their whole thing is you have to cut their heads off. Both of their heads off to kill both of them.
The double-headed snake, you gotta kill both heads off at both ends.
We learn that the power set for Gyutaro, his thing is that he uses sickles as his weapon that I think are made of his like he can make blood sickles, but also I think his regular sickles are also made of his blood solidified or something, and they're also poisonous, which is not good.
We learned that they're poisonous through Uzui, who got necked, and he's like, Idiot, I'm a shinobi. I'm immune to poisons.
And since we just read Spy X Family, I was
I
like,
was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say you're as proud.
I'm fully ready to believe this. He spent years building up an immunity to lidocaine.
Honestly, this is, as we said, there's probably a lot to skip over that it's kind of hard to talk about in a podcast context.
Like, if you like circular drawn black blades that take up most of a page, man, is there a lot of good pages for you here, because Gyu's fighting style is he is surrounded by a cyclone of blades, and he does that a lot.
While it is cool and it is dangerous, it is a lot.
They focus more on the protagonists fighting than the villains fighting. And the big thing, and sort of the reason why it's a bit hard to talk about in a podcast context, is there's a lot of swapping back and forth of
perspectives, because
perspectives and who's fighting who. Because like at first it's Tengen and Tanjiro versus Gyutaro, and then Inosuke and Zenitsu against Daki, but that flips multiple times, and it's easy to keep track of in the context of reading it, but explaining it's kind of tough.
Yeah, it does break down into Tanjiro and Uzui versus Gyutaro, Inosuke and Zenitsu versus Daki, and the wives are evacuating the civilians because, oh boy, this might be the most destructive demon fight we've had yet. And the last one involved derailing a train.
I was about to say, the other one derailed a train. I think that one wins.
Well, I mean, this
Did
is in the
it
middle of
level
like
a
a
city
neighbor.
block?
Yeah, this is in the middle where there's like blatantly populated.
Like, that's sort of the point. It's close and it shouldn't be. The other cool thing is that Tengen's wives are actually they're making a point of staying at a distance, but they're also still supporting the fight because they're throwing wisteria tipped kunai at the demons, which like again make me endeared to these characters even more. Oh god, is one of them going to die? I'm very scared.
Yeah, Jacob, you're kind of burying the lead there. You said throwing. They have a kunai machine gun.
Yeah, one of them.
Kunai cannon.
It's like a set of boxes like a Hwacha or something, and they're being launched.
It's like something out of a Naruto movie. Like,
I think that's on purpose, actually.
I know that. I know the Naruto movie.
that ends with the kunai machine gun? Yeah.
This wisteria poison on these kunai is strong enough to completely paralyze a lesser demon. It could even have one of the lower six severely crippled for over a minute. It don't do jack to Gyutaro.
No.
It takes the first time he's hit with one, it basically does nothing.
It doesn't do nothing. It really heavily slows his regeneration, which, as demonstrated in the Akaza fight, is one of the biggest benefits that the demons have.
Yeah, it's actually the funny thing is there is a parallel drawn between the Hashira and the Kizuki in that the first time that Gyutaro is hit by one of these wisteria, it slows him slightly, but only so much that the master Hashira is able to notice. It doesn't look like it's done anything, but the more times he gets hit by them, the more it affects it. And Tengen claimed that he was immune to the poison. He's not. He's just really powerful and therefore highly resistant to it. So both of them are getting worn down because this fight is dragging out for so long, which really did a good job of ratcheting up the tension and making it a page turner, in my opinion.
Same. Big agree. So this fight is happening for a while. At one point in the wave of the fight, it's like we have to decapitate them both at the same time, or we could just decapitate one of them
and run away with the head.
Yeah, which is what ends up happening is Gyutaro and Tengen are 1v1ing for a bit. Our three boys, our lads, all go in for a super rad team attack move to rip Daki's head off. And then Inosuke's like, haha, I got your head. I'm running now. No one can stop Lord Inosuke. I've been stabbed.
Yeah. Well, check the Twitter. I had a meme I shared with Jay when I was reading this. That's probably inappropriate.
It's appropriate.
Honestly, the way that they get out of this, because like I'm sitting here like, strictly speaking, Inosuke is a character that could get killed. I don't think they're going to kill Inosuke. Is there going to be a way out of this? There is. And
there is.
I was fine with it. I can understand if this was a bridge too far for Matt, which is, I think, where it's going.
It's very dumb. It's very, very, very dumb because Inosuke, after getting stabbed through the heart, goes, I had the ability to rearrange my organs. The only way I'm rectifying this is not complete bullshit is I think Inosuke is just full of shit and got lucky that it didn't stab him through the heart and is lying about everything he says he can do.
That seems very likely.
I believe that.
I believe him.
He does say he's also immune to poison from living on the mountains while coughing up blood from the poison.
Yeah, because it was Gyutaro that stabbed him.
Yeah, I enjoyed this moment. But like, if anyone were to tell me that this was stupid and it took me out of the moment, I'd be like, personally, I disagree. But your opinion is extremely valid because that is as dumb as it gets before it completely breaks.
I am of mixed opinions about this because this is a Darkest Hours turn moment.
Oh, it really is.
The reason that Gyutaro was able to get that stab in on Inosuke, as Tanjiro, he's like, wasn't Tengen fighting him? And he looks over. Tengen is on the ground, a hand not where it's supposed to be, and it looks like he's really dead. And so Inosuke gets stabbed, supposedly through the heart.
This might have been when they were swapping opponents around, but there was one moment I wanted to mention because now it looks like Tengen's died. Earlier on, the wife who had faked being sick ended up coming in and helping too, which is part of where the whole...
She shot the kunai, yeah.
Gyutaro gets his hands on her and almost turns her head. There's no narrative reason that she would have any plot armor, so it was a very... It was a very tense sequence for me because I really like them, and she made it. Like, I was very happy about that.
She made it because Tanjiro learned MMA with sword techniques. He makes the Hinokami Kagura and water breathing, and he's like, "Oh, wait, this is probably how the breathing styles developed." Neat.
I did like that. He's like hybridizing the derived forms with the original form. Like, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Thinking about that later, back to the fight.
Because the main thing is he's going through that whole thing earlier where he said his body is incompatible with the water technique, but then he's also like, that's what the real point of I Am Not the Chosen One was. His body's also incompatible with the fire technique. Like, he wasn't born with the special snowflake curse
power,
mark, which debatable because he does get the special snowflake curse mark, but whatever.
You are the chosen one. How many times do we have to beat you over the head with it?
A lot. His head's very hard. This is well established.
Sort of the big thing about that is it's someone chosen by destiny or someone who makes their own destiny is where it is this version of, why the protagonist is special. And I will always prefer that. That's why I have way higher tolerance for and even appreciation of the way it's going.
Getting back to what happened in the Darkest Hour turn, Uzui seems to be dead. Inosuke is dead.
Gyutaro even mentions that Tengen's heart has stopped.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There's a big demonic apocalypse attack. Zenitsu's thrown through a wall. Tanjiro is knocked out, and he's having a bit of a self-guilt moment of, I'm sorry, I wasn't strong enough. And in a moment where I'm not sure if it was actually Nezuko like spiritually projecting to him or just a memory or an idea of Nezuko.
I don't know, but I love that scene where, Yeah,
it's them on the mountain they grew up in the snow, as it always is. And Nezuko's like, Tanjiro, you really need to stop apologizing. Yeah, we're poor. We were poor. We all worked our hardest and we were still poor. Sometimes that's just the way it is. The important thing is we worked as hard as we could. You need to stop apologizing. You need to get up and keep doing until you can't anymore.
Woo! I love that scene.
I love that scene too. I really hope that it was actually a mind link thing, because sure, it's more mystic bullshit, but it's Nezuko having dialogue in the plot and being awesome.
Yeah. Matt's piece of textual evidence saying that it's probably actually ghost shenanigans because the narrator isn't saying otherwise is pretty strong evidence that it is like spiritual projection, but they haven't explained yet, and they probably never will.
Tanjiro wakes up Gyutaro's crouching over him and doing a whole lot of gloating, as any good villain is wont to do.
Yeah, like, hey, I could have won this, but I decided to not because I wanted to know what's up with you. And I'm like, buddy, stop.
Look, kid, I like broken, pathetic things. I'm one of them too. It's okay. You're just a complete worthless sack of shit who couldn't do the most basic thing of protecting your sister, and now you're going to die painfully for it. That really hurts, doesn't it? I hope it hurts.
Hey, are you projecting onto me? Because I'm got a kind of a vibe that you're projecting here.
Right? Yeah.
Looking up at the sky so your tears don't fall. And Tanjiro, looking up at the sky says, I've waited for this moment, and uses the Kamado family technique of the headbutt, which was actually a distraction because he grabbed one of the Wisteria kunai and stabbed him with it.
Which is a great moment for Tanjiro. The villain being arrogant and not finishing the good guys off. Again, this Kizuki has defeated multiple Hashira and been doing this for hundreds of years. This kind of arrogance is...
And we learn he's a sadist.
He's a sadist. This kind of arrogance is to be expected. It is a well-used trope, but, tropes are tools, so...
So Tanjiro manages to paralyze him for the important second with the Wisteria knife, pulls his sword, slices him in the neck, and Gyu's just like, how does he still have the willpower to try and defeat me? And it's that on a shot of Tanjiro's grit teeth and wide eyes and
gnarled fingers because his fingers had been snapped.
Contender for second favorite panel in this reading. But Tanjiro still is not strong enough to cut through his necks.
So good thing those darkest hours didn't mean anything. The gang's alive. Hooray!
I'm just going to say it right now. As much as I am happy that all of the boys are still alive, I gotta go and say, you're kind of a coward for not doing it, Gotouge sensei.
I gotta say this fight had a real big senzu bean problem with me, because I'm like, you did a lot of effort to say people are at their last rope, and then they come back into the fight at what seems like full power. And that happens with multiple characters. It happens with the villains, it happens with the heroes, it happens with everyone. And by the end of this fight, I'm like, okay, this person has had 2 second wins. They're called second wins for a reason.
Mm-hmm. It's not second and third. As someone who was once upon a time an athlete, not anymore, but I do know the ebb and flow of adrenaline is a real thing, but this is taking it too far, in my opinion.
So,
though I did enjoy it.
My perspective is, I personally thought that the excuses for why people went down and got back up for the most part good. My problem was twofold, and they... I've been saying they pushed it as far as they could go without taking it too far. It never broke for me personally. And if someone felt it went too far, I wouldn't say you're wrong. I just disagree. The two that were the worst for me were, because when Tengen went down, he expressly says that he was playing possum because he knew he was at the end of his rope. He needed to gather himself before he could be useful again. So that one's fine. Zenitsu being stuck under rubble and getting out of
He doesn't even have a stand to reach into his chest and hold his own heartstone.
But and then there's Zenitsu was under rubble. The way that Inosuke got stabbed, it did a good job of making me wonder if they were actually going to kill off a beloved character. Feel like that was the one that stretched me the most. And then there's a bit where Tanjiro gets a sickle in the jaw.
Yeah.
He does.
And
he gets a sickle to the jaw.
And the thing about it is, that's not physically debilitating. It's your jaw. It's not a fatal point, but he should have a scar there. And I don't think they're going to change his character design to reflect that.
Well, we also never see the underside of his chin, just to play devil's advocate.
We see the blade coming out from under his tongue.
Well, I know.
Magic poison blood, Jacob. It can do whatever it needs to do.
Shut up and let me finish my point. We never see under Tanjiro's chin in his character design. Usually, we never get a
down shot. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. If we get one of those and we see the scar, that would be a good attention to detail, and I'm totally about it.
Yeah.
The thing that I focused on was this was another callback to the Mugen Train arc, because while Admittedly, this one is a lot more bullshit because I don't know how Tanjiro flexed his jaw muscles to keep the blade in order to hold Gyutaro there. He did the same thing that Rengoku did with Akaza.
And held him in place.
Yeah, held him in place with raw determination.
Where I'm coming from is there is a running joke in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that the characters in one chapter will get these like hideously grievous wounds, and by the next chapter, which is 2 hours later, there's not a mark on their body. And that's a joke because it's dumb.
Jotaro gets set on fire at one point.
And like, Demon Slayer, please don't have no one have a mark from this after the end of it. Cause like, I'm on your side. This was all awesome, but I want to keep liking you. That's sort of the thing. That's why I say, like, if someone says that they don't like this, like I feel Matt is trying to point out, that's a fair assessment.
I thought it was entertaining and interesting.
That's why I say I'm on board with it, but it's right on the line before it goes too far for me.
I don't know. I mean, I understand the continuity aspect from it, but it's just like, I think that for me, at least, it's just a difference of preference for genre.
Yeah,
or medium.
exactly.
For instance, if I'm reading a novel, I would be more headstrong and like, I need there to be continuity of wounds or bodily ailments. But if it's a manga where I go to like escape all that, I don't care.
This is why I don't ask Jay to beta read my novels.
There better be continuity. I will go back and make sure, hey, I thought in chapter like 3 they had this scar that was present. Yeah.
They got stabbed in the side in that one chapter, yeah.
Admittedly, for nobody being dead despite the darkest hour moment, I'm still a little salty about it, but not really. It does have a lot of cool moments. At the very least, Tengen lost a whole ass hand. Zenitsu reveals his next iteration of Thunderclap and Flash. We've gone to 6-fold, we've gone to 8-fold. Now, godlike speed, where he moves so quickly that he is... Well, he was already invisible to the naked eye, but he approaches divine speed.
He goes from invisible to people to invisible to Kizuki, which is a step up.
Yeah, his semi-conscious sleep narration is like, I can only do this once before my legs basically give out on me for a week. So I really hope this works. And then Inosuke's like, haha, Lord Inosuke can contort his internal organs. I will help you, yellow boy.
I'm immune to poison as he's spitting blood from dying from the poison.
Returning to the battle lines that I had said earlier, both of the Kizuki, both halves of this one Kizuki are beheaded, and their heads fly into the air in a very beautiful 2-page spread. They land and they roll to look each other in the eye like, what the fuck just happened?
They land really far away, too, is the funny bit.
Yeah.
There's 2-page spreads, one of them going down, the other of the other going down.
And they just happen to be right across from each other, staring each other in the eyes.
I understand the whole, like, nobody died in this darkest hour moment, but this kind of goes back to what I mentioned with, these guys kind of deserve a win at this point, and Hashira is retiring at this point. We'll get into some words about that, but Hashira is basically... out of action now is, one of the important bits. So it's like, it's not like there was absolutely no sacrifice, but like, this is like, it was so painful what happened last time. This is our heroes bouncing back. And I was really happy. Tengen and his wives survive. There wasn't any like side character that had to die. It's like,
there's no mourning. They don't have to go back and mourn the loss of one of their...
Guys, we're missing the best part, though, is Tengen is dying. He's on his deathbed, and his wives are arguing to the point that he's about to say his last words and be flashy and cool, but they are arguing to the point that his tongue freezes up. He's like, am I going to die without being able to say anything cool? My wives talked over my deathbed?
It was really funny. At which point we get Nezuko has been using her blood demon art. Her flames can expel the poison.
Because we get established by one of the Kizuki, Daki, when she's fighting, she goes, her blood demon creates a fire that only burns demons. And I'm just like, I guess that tracks, okay.
Yes.
But that's an internal monologue that she says to Nezuko, and I'm like, okay.
I don't know how she knew that, because we've not seen Nezuko bleed on anyone but demons or demon
Yeah,
paraphernalia.
and Daki has an internal monologue about that, and then Nezuko's just like, well, I'm gonna light Inosuke on fire. And Tanjiro's like, what? And everyone's like, what?
I mean, I guess Nezuko, like, inherently understanding how her own powers work is sort of the reason why I let that slide, because that is a shifty eyes moment at the least.
It's a funny moment. I'm not really. I don't know. It's mostly for the comedy beat of why are you lighting him on fire? He's not dead yet. Oh no, you just burned away the demon poison.
It's too early to cremate him. That was a really good line.
I loved that so much. It was so funny.
And like after such a hard fight that was so brutal, they all make it out to the other side. The tension was released. It was so satisfying. There was a catharsis to it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, again, that's why I'm not fully saying I'm mad about no one dying.
Yeah.
It was satisfying.
Tengen's like, so I'm missing a hand and an eye, and my body is really screwed up at this point. You know how we were talking about maybe retiring? Let's do that, which he deserves it.
Yeah,
on saying that summons from the ether the snake Hashira.
Yeah, Johnny Snake Shoulders shows up and says, I don't care, get back in there. We're already down one, Hashira.
You don't retire, you just die.
Keep going until you die. But that actually made me think about something interesting. Because the demons are always talking about how they're so much better because they never age. But how long does it take for a demon to get as powerful as a Kizuki?
Don't they talk about that, like in the standoff between Rangiku?
Rengoku. That Kizuki was saying it like it was an advantage, but the thing that I'm pointing out is losing a Hashira absolutely sucks because it takes half a lifetime to get one of those, but to get a Kizuki takes hundreds of years because, you know, like the protagonists are coming together and like there's even an explicit note made of this. The tide is turning because when a Hashira dies, it's a tragedy and a bad thing. When a Kizuki dies, that's serious. Mm-hmm. That's a crack in the armor that can lead to the destruction of the demons as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Which probably a great segue into we get the cut to
the Infinite Palace.
Yeah, where Kizuki has died. So all the I guess they're the upper Kizuki. They're also the only Kizuki.
The only Kizuki now, yeah.
It's such a never mind.
I love how the series is very explicitly accelerated because it framed it like Tanjiro wasn't gonna like get to any of the Kizuki until like 3 seasons in, and then they're like, no, that's what previous shonen have done, and people have complained about that. Let's actually have the plot happen. So now we're on the upper Kizuki.
Yeah, the important thing is that the, as was stated previously, the upper Kizuki ranks haven't changed in 100 years, and specifically 113 as we learn here, and now Daki's dead, so... Muzan's brought them all in to say, why do you all suck so bad?
Well, I have information for you that you might like. Shut up, I don't need your information. I'm going to kill you now, but not really. I just ripped off your head, but I was very confused reading that.
Yeah,
me too.
I will say, this kind of goes in line with why... it's like it's a razor margin of what happened to Inosuke. There are multiple places where demons get their heads cut off and it doesn't kill them. And it's like, isn't that supposed to be the thing that ends them?
It has to be a wisteria blade or the sun blade.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Because of the natural power creep, we're starting to get to places where like people are starting to have to use gimmicks.
Well, I mean, like, that was the whole thing with Spider Mountain was Spider Boy cut his own head off before Tanjiro could.
Yeah, and it's like, that's becoming more and more common. And it's like, that's the nature of how shonens work, and shonen is it's my genre, it's my jam. So it's one of those ones where I'm watching you, but...
Jacob, don't get me started on how many times they cut off the head and then it was stuck in the obi, and then they proceeded to just keep cutting the obi harder until eventually they cut through it.
It's part and parcel with the genre, and this is a review and critique format, so I have to point out where it's stretching things. I'm also going to point out that I'm fine with it, but it's a thing that this genre does.
Lord Muzan has called the 6 remaining Kizuki, or the 5 remaining Kizuki.
Yeah,
Yep. So and essentially it's supposed to be a meeting about what they're doing, but it literally just turns into Lord Muzan yelling at all of them. He asks, why have you not found me the blue lily or something else? I guess the blue lily is important.
The
First
blue
time we're
spider
hearing
really.
anything about it. I thought that one Kizuki was going to tell him something about it, but he ripped that dude's head off. He's like, I already know one of the Kizuki is dead. I'm like, didn't you call this meeting? I doubt that's what he was gonna say. Like,
Again, it's Muzan being a petty child.
Yeah, he's a man-child.
I understand he's being a petty child, the character. I'm saying I was also confused what was going on in this scene because, like, what
I'm
was
just
he
saying he's like setting himself up for a rebellion because you're a petulant child and you're making it very evident that
Well,
you're a petulant child.
They can't rebel because he
I
at any point could snap
know.
his fingers and their blood kills them.
I know, but I'm just saying it's just so obvious.
We
It's
missed
painful.
my favorite part. Tanjiro actually picked up some demon blood and gave it to the invisible cat that is
that's
always
right.
following his every moment.
Because of what was mentioned last time, I noticed that part where it's like, yay, he remembered to do the thing.
That stupid invisible cat is my favorite part of Demon Slayer's universe.
He got the blood from the upper Kizuki, and he gave it to the
Quest
cat.
item.
And the cat's like, meow.
Quest item, get.
Anyway, the main thing that comes out from the meeting with Lord Muzan is it's essentially just showing off who the remaining Kizuki are, is really all it is, because we don't get any information other than the blue lily and the other thing he's looking for. And like the one takeaway though is we get revealed that the number one Kizuki is a dude with 6 eyes who looks exactly like Tanjiro's dad, except we then get a flashback where it reveals we actually didn't know what Tanjiro's dad looked like because he looks exactly like Tanjiro.
I mean, family resemblance.
It's similar, but like whenever we've seen Tanjiro's dad, he's always explicitly had his face covered or not viewed. But like when we see Tanjiro, he's got just exactly Tanjiro's face, and you're like, oh wait, is this guy we've thought Tanjiro's dad hasn't been Tanjiro's dad? He's been the first Kizuki.
But no, the first Kizuki meets with Tanjiro's dad when he was, younger and healthier. Also, by the way, given what we saw of the battle with Tanjiro and Daki, I fully believe that Tanjiro's dad practiced the Hinokami Kagura and fought the hell out of Muzan, but pushed himself too far, started hacking up blood, managed to escape, and that's why he was so sickly in Tanjiro's backstory.
Oh, I thought that dude was like just checking in on. I thought like the whole thing with whenever we've seen a vision of Tanjiro's dad in the past, it doesn't match up with how he looks in that flashback. Like ghosts of Tanjiro's dad we've been seeing look a hell of a lot more like the first Kizuki.
Well, I thought, because I went back and forth, like literally freaking out the same, because I thought the same, but I mean, their patterns on their kimono are different. Their hairstyles are slightly different.
They're leaving this intentionally vague. So like that's sort of the important part, because they're actually, by giving more information, obscuring the truth. So the earrings belong originally to the guy who is the first Kizuki. But the thing is, it's very heavily implied that the first Kizuki was originally a demon slayer who taught Tanjiro's father the Hinokami Kagura. And some of the stuff that we've seen of like flashbacks of Tanjiro's dad are blending between the person who taught Tanjiro's father the Hinokami Kagura, who Tanjiro may have some subconscious memories of, and his actual father, which is why it's hard to tell who's who.
Another important thing is that Tanjiro's dad in all of the flashbacks was very sickly. Like, he was old, he was wrinkly, he was vomiting blood. He'd clearly been sedentary for a long time.
The only time he was okay was when he was performing the Hinokami Kagura dance. And it's very much intentionally not clear exactly what's going on.
So the first Kizuki was either a relative of Tanjiro's dad or his sword teacher or something along those lines.
Pretty clear is that he saved the family. Whether or not they're actually related is sort of hard to say. We haven't gotten any information on that. But
timeline-wise is the thing. Like, we know that he's been the Kizuki longer than Tanjiro's dad has been alive. Like, because within 100 years, he taught him. If you're saying that, he taught him swordsmanship while also being a Kizuki.
That's true. That's interesting, because the Kizuki hasn't changed in 100 years.
That's why I'm thinking he's an ancestor who's just keeping an eye on his family.
That's also possible.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Rengoku line, family resemblance is very powerful in this universe.
That is also true. One other bit of information that we get, and it's interwoven with the Infinite Palace bit, but we see the master of the Demon Slayer Corps, and he mentions that when he's talking about how one of the Kizuki being defeated means that in this generation we may defeat Muzan, and he talks about how his clan's shame will finally be wiped away. So we get that. We get a little nugget of information about the connection between Muzan and the head of the Demon Slayer Corps as well.
Yeah, and his scar his weird scarification has noticeably progressed. And we also got a flashback from Tengen showing the master who very much unscarred.
Well, anyway, we get revealed that after that, Tanjiro has been unconscious for 2 months.
Which, honestly, fair. That makes sense.
Honestly, same. Yep. And Tanjiro wakes up and he's like, wow, I was in a coma for 2 months. That's some. I need to do a whole lot of rehabilitative training now. And that's the end of our reading. And so, yeah. Favorite character, everybody? It's honestly hard for me to say.
It's a tough ask.
All one of our 4 principal protagonists were really, really good. But I think ultimately I have to say Zenitsu.
That would be the wrong answer.
I'm fine to be wrong. He was funny. He had at least in the interpretation Jake and I share, he had a lot of growth. The thunderclap and flash godlike speed, I vibe with that super hard. I love that just conceptually. I really like Zenitsu in this. How about you, Jake?
So, in all honesty, basically every character that was introduced over the course of, because Muzan reaffirmed why he has been a favorite, among the favorite characters for us, the man-child aspect of him. Zenitsu, as Sam mentioned, was great. I loved the character development that Inosuke got, because he's such an easy character to get wrong, and the fact that Demon Slayer has handled him so well, I really appreciate. Tanjiro slipped in my mind in the previous arc, but in this arc, I thought he was absolutely on point because, and also the villains that we got were also pretty freaking good because they weren't really particularly engaging villains until a bit that at the end that we kind of glossed over is, I won't belabor the point given the time, but we get their backstory, and that was really well handled. And that goes further to the thing I mentioned about Tanjiro having a better understanding of the way he needs to handle demons. He has sympathy for the pain that they've experienced and for the reason why they made the bad choices that they did. But that doesn't mean that what they're doing is okay. It doesn't mean that they deserve forgiveness. No, they'll never get forgiveness. They made an awful choice, and they have to die and they have to burn for it. It's there's no making up for it. But he still feels empathy for the pain that led them to that place.
Yeah, I think I like Tanjiro's reaction to it a lot more than their actual backstory. I felt like their actual backstory was very by the numbers.
Yeah, that is fair. I was actually going to mention that too.
I think there's a reason we skimmed over it because it's literally just we grew up in the slums.
It's stock by the numbers, yes. But I have to say, my actual favorite character, and it was really hard because so many other characters, there were other characters that had more time that were really great, like Inosuke in particular, Tanjiro in particular. But I loved Tengen and his wives were all great characters. But man, Nezuko topped my list again. It wasn't just I loved Nezuko being cute chibi sister, which was amazing because she did that at the end too, and it was adorable and I loved it. And it wasn't just that she had a badass moment of, hey, I'm here too. I'm not the mascot anymore. That framing is gone. Thank goodness. I am as intended now, which that's cool too. But I really loved the tension that they built around her losing control, because the image of it, because like I said, there's no way they're just killing off Nezuko in a random arc. That's just not going to happen. But the image of Tanjiro's sword in her teeth filled me with such a level of dread. Her character was so well handled over the course of this. Nezuko is definitely my number one, but man, it was close.
All right. Jay, favorite character?
Hands down would have to be Inosuke. He made me laugh.
and that's very important for me.
Yeah, Inosuke was pretty great throughout this entire reading. Like I said, Zenitsu, but it was an honestly hard decision.
Close second, however, would be Tanjiro, because I look forward to him realizing that he is the main character of this series, and that is okay.
Well, considering we got the tagline that he's being recommended for Hashira, I think he's going to start being more protagonist.
It's literally, if I could be in this in this universe, I'd be like literally smacking him over the head, getting nowhere, trying to get him like, you are the main character. Own it.
my favorite. I just remembered my favorite bit with the stupid narrator boxes is during the fight. They go through a long little thing about how Tengen is able to visualize battle as if it's a musical score. And it's like an entire 2 paragraphs of text explaining this. And it eventually culminates with the fact, by the way, because of the poison, he does not have the strength to decapitate Gyo. That relies on Tanjiro. And I'm like, setting up the main character up to bat. Okay.
So, Matt, your favorite character?
I mean, I really liked Zenitsu in this. I do feel like they did him dirty because they don't ever say anything about him. Like, if they had at least said that he had like reached a higher level, because the narrator box never shies away from explaining what's happening. But like, I don't know, he's cool in this. He does a lot of great things, especially after Mugen Train. He kind of just played support. He had like a really great fight with Inosuke, even though they had great teamwork despite the fact he was unconscious. I mean, best character in this is Tengen. He carries this arc. Like he
really does.
He lets everything happen. The fact he doesn't know what his swords do because he's too strong is hilarious.
And so on brand for him.
The fact that he gets to be like this big hulking like force of nature who's super flashy is great, and then like gets hurt. He loses a hand and an eye by the end of this, and like I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. And now, as is customary with shonens, your favorite fight. I think we need to split some hairs here because the 2/3 of this was a fight.
Yeah, it's all technically one fight. So which part of the one fight was your favorite?
Oh, geez. It's I said earlier that I really liked the opening rounds of Tanjiro versus Daki, especially the whole if anger alone could carry you through bit. I adored that. I also love Nezuko going full rage mode because that was just really compelling character moment of it's like, oh, yay, the main character's winning. Oh, no, she's completely lost it and she's still a bloodthirsty demon. Oh, no, that's bad. It was the Super Saiyan moment if cultural osmosis hadn't ruined the Super Saiyan moment.
Right.
But so I loved those two, but I think it has to be Tanjiro's final stand against Gyutaro, because I'm a massive sucker for, as I've said numerous times on this podcast, I love
trickster heroes.
And Tanjiro, consummate good boy, pulling out a trickster moment with his signature family technique of the headbutt in order to pull off a rad final stand. It is a confluence of the stars. It is everything lining up exactly to make me pop off. So that's it for me. Matt, what about you?
Oh, hands down, Inosuke and Zenitsu versus Daki. Like, that's just fun. Like, they're doing like cool techniques. There's like amazing like art of Zenitsu zipping around. If I remember correctly, it's got a really cool 2-page spread of Inosuke and Zenitsu having like a dual attack against her. Like, there's a lot of cool dual attacks in this. Like, it's I'm really excited to see it animated because like I want to see this in action because there is just cool action.
It looks great in sequential art, and if they can pull it off in animation, that will just elevate it even further.
Jay, favorite fight?
I was gonna say the climax leading up to Gyutaro and Tanjiro finally coming to terms with the fact that sibling bonds are important, and haha, it's not funny to just be a jerk. But I have to reflect back on Inosuke and Tanjiro's, or on Inosuke and Zenitsu's back and forth when they were fighting Daki, because I have so many screenshots from that fight. Basically, Inosuke saying, "Oh, I thought you were just useless. That was actually a really good idea you had, even though you were asleep." But whatever. Just the back and forth, and I guess maybe more so one-sided character bonding on that front. That was quite enjoyable.
All right. And Jacob, favorite fight?
So, I think probably the point I'm going to mention is probably going to be favorite part of the fight is going to be obvious for me because I've mentioned it a couple of times at this point. It's the bit where Nezuko is like just starting to lose control all the way to where she gets calmed down, because it's not just great character moments for Nezuko. Like it's reaffirming stuff we already know about Tanjiro, but it's also really great character moments for Tengen. I think a really close second is probably the end of Tanjiro's 1v1 with Daki, because that's really great moments for Tanjiro in particular. It's, Tanjiro gets to be an incredible badass, and I love seeing that because Tanjiro is really cool and I want him to succeed at things. But just like the thing that made me feel the most feels out of everything over the course of it was easily my worry for Nezuko's, like not even physical safety, mental health. I was so worried for Nezuko's condition. And the imagery used in that section of the fight, both when she was, going full beast mode and beating the crap out of the Kizuki, and also when Tanjiro was trying to restrain her, filled me with such a sense of dread that's not common in a turn your brain off fun shonen series. Demon Slayer, pun entirely intended, Demon Slayer has always had teeth, and I feel it's really hit its stride in leveraging that for really powerful moments, and that was the big one for me.
All right. And would you continue reading? Obvious yes for me, because we got so much setup in this. We got a ton of payoff with seeing how Du Bois have improved in their training skip. We got so much good fight out of this. Despite the nigglings that I have brought up in this episode, I really enjoyed this, and I love seeing the advancement of the mystery of the world and the interplay of the Demon Slayer Corps versus Muzan. I want to know more about that history. I am desperately waiting for the info dump. So yeah, I'll keep reading. Jay, how about you?
Oh, absolutely. I have to know more.
Exactly.
Also, Inosuke's still here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jacob, how about you?
Oh, heck yes. This is actually a really interesting one because the Mugen Train arc, I was happy about how it turned out, but we all mentioned the pacing problems. It was hard for me to stop reading in this section because the pacing was so much better. I hope that Demon Slayer can keep this kind of timbre because it was really solid this time.
And Matt?
I think I'm going to quit Demon Slayer. I'm never going to read it again. No, obviously. No, obviously, I'm invested at this point. Like, I think we're over the halfway point for chapters.
Is it a sunk fallacy cost?
It's a sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy, yes.
I just want to know what Hashira Tanjiro becomes, and if it's the light Hashira, I will riot. I will riot in the streets.
He's going to be the good boy Hashira.
He's the son Hashira.
Yep, I'm sure Tanjiro will do something, but yeah, Zenitsu and Inosuke are both cool, so I want to see what they do. It's like the same reason I want to read more My Hero Academia. The side characters are cool.
All right, and thus ends another episode of the OverMangaCast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. Make sure to follow us on all of the social medias where we are at OverMangaCast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think other ones exist. I try not to think about them.
Check us out on YouTube. That is a good place to comment on individual episodes, though apparently some of the podcast apps are letting you do that now. And reviews for the whole podcast are also greatly appreciated.
Rate us 5 stars on Spotify.
I hear that's a thing that can happen. And so we will catch you all next week where, if I'm doing my math right, it has officially been 1 entire year of the OverMangaCast at this point.
It feels like it happened in a flash and took forever at the same time.
Big agree. So what are we reading next week for our 1-year anniversary?
Well, we gotta bring it back where it all began. We're gonna read more of One Punch Man chapters.
One Punch!
Chapters 78 through 95. And if you are a really pedantic listener, you will notice, excuse me, Matt, that's only partially one way through an arc. The Monster Association arc hasn't even ended yet. I'm like, buddy, That arc is over 100 chapters long. We're splitting it into chunks. We're going to be doing the prologue leading up to it.
We read 70 chapters last time.
We're
not doing that again.
You're going to see how far the podcast has come, because hopefully this time there will be, any semblance of structure, and it will be a reasonable episode with a reasonable reading amount.
So tune in next week for that, and good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.